Welcome to another fantastic episode of RGDS, your retro gaming discussion show. It's your host, Paul Driscoll, aka the Drisk, and joining me, as always, is my racing rival. Yes, it's Gordon King, aka Kingy. How are you, matey? How are things?
Hi Paul, hi everyone. Yeah, racing rival indeed. Even when we go to Arcade Club, the first game I have a sort of penchant towards is Outrun 2, and I've yet to beat you. It was always, bumper to bumper. Inches, yeah. Right? It's like bugger, so this year, I will win. Yeah, good to be on another episode with you, mate. It's, as always, it's a pleasure.
No, it's always good, and I think with this episode, this is one that we've been excited to do for a long while, and it's basically modern arcade racers, neo-retro arcade racers, if you will, where these are beautiful arcade racers that are still typically out in the arcades even today, even though that a lot of these are surprisingly, over a decade old. Yeah. It just shows you. But yeah, I love with this. And of course, I think one of the clinchers was you got a fully loaded Techno Parrot.
Yeah, so I grabbed an all-you-can-eat buffet from the interwebs there, and although I had already a very good sort of curated list myself, just have everything like you do when you download an entire MAME collection. It's like that. It's just great. It's you've got the comfortable favourites that you're familiar with in arcade games that you go and still play today because they're still in arcades, amongst others that haven't been under your radar. So this is a bit of a mixed bunch in this selection, and I have had a ball configuring the settings a bit, tweaking the controller, the sensitivities and that, just getting it right, and also adding the steering wheel to it as well, just to have that extra added arcade fun.
I adore with Techno Parrot because basically what it emulates is modern arcade games are essentially PCs put in a cabinet. Yeah. So that's essentially what it does. It emulates the variants of PC arcade games, and there's many classics on there. It'd be the ones that MAME doesn't really do yet. So it's great, and don't get me wrong. Every opportunity I get where I can legitimately buy these games. In fact, I bought Raiden 3 and 4 just the other week. And I own them already on Steam, but I wanted it on the consoles. Yeah, so to those who say, "Oh, we're talking about emulation," I will buy these games if they make them available. But it's a shame that many
and
of these
play
games,
them when you are down the arcades.
and and that's something we've talked about actually. Sorry, I realise we've jumped into a lot of the intro with it. As we do. But that's one of the things that really surprises me. Whenever you go to the arcades, any arcade, first of all, you have that crushing disappointment. It's full of like coin pushers and
redemption
fruit machines and everything you don't want. But when you do have the arcade games, they're always 9 times out of 10 an arcade racer, and they're really popular. You see, parents with their kids playing on them. Everyone's having a great time. So I just don't get why Raw Thrills and some of these other games that we're going to be talking about, given the age that they are, I can understand initially, but a lot of these games, they're not even developing anymore. If you go on the Raw Thrills website, they've stopped manufacturing these games. Why don't they just bring them to the home? Because as Techno Parrot proves, it's doable, it's possible. And if you know the hardware,
and there's a demand.
I think there would be a demand. I think it would be, I think people would love them. And it's just a shame, that things like Outrun 2 and things like that we'll come to as well can't buy anymore, because it's Ferrari license.
The license is ended. Yeah.
But you think? Well, anyway, we'll see with that. But before I get further on my rant, let's just catch up what we've been up to retro-wise before we go into the show itself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So what have you been up to retro-wise, mate?
Oh well, you know what? I have splashed some cash, my friend, and our good friend Almac from the Discord channel. He lives in Midlothian, just sort of southeast of Edinburgh, and I popped over to his house because he's decided to be a grown-up. Okay, so during lockdown,
putting away childish things, is he?
Ish to a certain degree, and I'll explain why. So during lockdown, he decided he was bored and made himself a MAME cabinet.
Yeah.
Okay? And he now needs to make room for it. And this is where his grown-up thing happens. He's bought himself a Donkey Kong real refurbished cabinet.
Wow. It doesn't sound very
And
grown-up so far. It sounds cool, but not grown-up.
Yeah, it's more mature. That's a mature game, and he's done away with the simulating and emulating.
He wants the
of,
real deal. I get what you mean. Yeah.
He wants the real deal, right? So Muggins here purchased it off him for the princely sum of $1 million. Okay.
You haven't told the
I even
wife
put
yet.
the pinky. I even put the pinky. Yeah, no, she doesn't. She doesn't even know it's in the room. She never comes in the man cave. Wait until she was out and snuck it in. Lucky my friend 2 doors down, he has what I call the shaggin' wagon. Okay, he has a big Chrysler thing because he's a person that goes camping, fishing holidays, so he likes a big car vehicle to put all the gear in. So he kindly took me over to get it, and I brought it home, set it up, and back at that point it was made with a Raspberry Pi 3.
Yeah.
I put a 4 Plus in and put down a Batasera image, which has got 1,050 main games. Al, when he made it, he just put his own games on.
Yeah.
That's fine, you know what I mean? You just, you know me though, I'm just one of these idiots.
You want
I need everything.
Yeah, you're like me.
Yes.
I can't.
Yeah.
Collect the set. Gotta collect them all. Gotta catch them all.
I mean, yeah, everybody's taking the piss at me because they know my normal distaste for Street Fighter. Now, Al being a big fan of it, he put the marquee of Street Fighter and also the artwork around the buttons and joystick of Street Fighter. Well, when I was at I went to Play Expo in Glasgow a few weeks back. They were selling marquee sticker vinyls there.
Yeah.
So I bought a Bubble one, and I've already put it on the marquee already. So in time, I will, not to make slight of Al's meticulous work of making the cabinet. It's beautiful. He's made it really well, and I'll give him that credit. But he knew I was always going to modify it and convert it. You have to make it your own. It's like when you move into a house that you buy. You can either accept someone else's wallpaper, or you want to put your own signature onto it, don't you? So I'm pleased with it, and I even 3D printed a fake coin door.
That's awesome. Yeah.
And stuck that on the kickboard as well. So I'm quite pleased with that, and it looks pretty spiffing. So I'm on it all the time. I'm loving it. It's really good. I mean, it's even got the overhead speakers just below the marquee, an independent amplifier going to the speakers. It's just really good.
And I bet you with the Pi 4 you'll be able to do overlays and things to make it look good.
Yes, mate. It's got the curvature. Scanlines can still be a bit hit and miss. I'm still experimenting with that, right? But there's a very subtle blurring thing that doesn't make it overly blurred.
Yeah.
That just does enough to get rid of the pixelation type, that LCD monitors do. Also, I've downloaded all the bezel art from the Bezel project for the game, so rather than just having the black borders and the 4:3 ratio, you have
nice side
what
art,
would it look like in the arcades. Yeah, and I love it. I love seeing some games have the instructions of the game, what the joy. It does. I just fall in love with it. I mean, there's room in there if I needed to put a CRT. There's nothing stopping me. There's capacity in there. But I'm happy the way it is.
CRT.
And it heats up crazy. No, it works. For me, there's purists and there's me, right? And most of it, I will always say, get in the sea, right?
Well,
this is enough for me. If it gives
what
me
you
9.
want to achieve, isn't it? I mean, if with okay, and others, if you're trying to get high scores and things, if that's your goal, you want to really truly master a game, then you probably do need the original hardware, because there are undoubtedly differences. So I didn't realise, until I spoke to Tracy Gleaves, who's working on Black Widow, that because there's always separate categories, so you could only get a high score for main or original arcade. So I didn't personally realise that. But also, she was saying she said it was 20% faster on main, so it's a lot more difficult.
More fun then.
Yeah, but I guess these are the things, particularly with the old games, that I mean, for us, where we're not really going for high scores and you're just going for a bit of nostalgia, a bit of a few mates round, play some classic arcade games or what have you. Yeah. Emulation's fine, but I totally get with Almac and people that they want the real deal.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean, for him, obviously, because good friend of the show, Pipes.
Yeah.
I mean, he's really racking up the scores in Donkey Kong anyway, and we created a channel. We actually created a channel in our Discord chat for specifically Donkey Kong high scores, and it's great to see the guys play this, and they've gotten really competitive. And this, I've yet to go and see Al's cab, the next time at his house. I mean, but the photographs he sent to me, this is a completely refurbed cab that is absolutely gorgeous. Now, I do love the look and the aesthetics of the DK cabs. They really are things of beauty, aren't they? But yeah. I am incredibly hopeless as a.
I can't.
Even though I'm a platform game person, I am utterly guff at Donkey Kong. I just can't play it. I just don't have the patience for it. It's like, give me that hammer, and give me the hammer permanently, and I will smash Donkey Kong's face in. That level 1, that's it, over, I've won the game, he's dead. That's it.
I'm not a big fan of Donkey Kong either. But again, it's because I'm no good at it rather than anything else. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah, dead happy. I'm chuffed. I'll bring it down to the arcade club.
Particularly because you've got like the full steering wheel. You've got the space for the full steering wheel setup and stuff.
Yeah, I've got that. Yeah, so that's set up. Well, I'm saying I've got room for the steering wheel because I put the arcade cab in there. The table I had with the CRT monitors and whatnot else, I have no room for, right? So it's like shit. The room that now I'm sitting in, I'm engulfed in. Just I need to sort the man cave out completely. That's my job when I'm off in the summer holidays, is to really tidy this out once and for all. I'm wanting to replace the laminate flooring in here. When I've done the rest of the ground floor, right? It's like you move into all the areas. It's the same flooring. This room isn't, and I've still got a stockpile in the hallway to put in here. So that means I have to completely strip down the room, take it all out, and do the bloody job. That sounds like work, doesn't it?
Yeah. No,
hence the reason I put it off.
I mean, I'm quite pleased really with my, for the I would obviously love like a cabinet like you, but for the space I've got, I mean, I'm sure people have, if you watch my best game of a letter arcade edition videos, you'll see how good I think I've got the overlays looking. That's not real hardware, but it really does feel like it, with the colouring and everything. To me, it looks bang on exactly as
absolutely, yeah.
So I mean, the unfortunate thing is it's very, very intensive, isn't it? Overlays and things to get in there.
Yeah, you do need, when you do those. I mean, I've got the same on that you give it to someone, you forget to delete that folder, okay, and they say it doesn't work on the computer, and it's like, shit, that's because I've got a high-end gaming PC. It needs to do that to really give that bloom, and the filters that just give that real, as close Fox arcade look is incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for me, retro-wise, I
didn't ask you. What you been up to? There you go. Now you can say.
Well, I thought I'll jump in before you start talking about DIY. For me, I took the plunge with a HDMI capture card because I've been really enjoying, and I know nobody, not too many people watching yet our YouTube channel, but I just enjoy recording the footage, and because to me it's the same reason I do the podcast. It gives me purpose. I'm not just playing a video game, I'm getting something out of it at the same time. So psychologically, I don't know, it just sort of worked. But I was really pleased because I mean, obviously we can capture everything on the PC because we've got with the graphics card, and that does a fantastic job. But
NVIDIA card Alt F9 automatically recording is incredible.
Did I ever tell you the story of how I discovered that?
No, not at all. No.
So
come on then.
Okay. So I didn't know because I don't read instructions. So I didn't know it does like recording.
No shit, Sherlock.
On the graphics card. I was like, absolutely fine.
If you read instructions, sorry to interject here, you'd actually play it and enjoy the Sentinel. But we'll leave it at that and move on.
So I didn't read the instructions, and I came back. This was a good few years ago. So Mira was probably about like 1 and a bit at the time. So a couple of years ago. Anyway, I came back from, I think it was like a work thing, staying overnight. And then I came back and like Molly and Joy were like ashen, saying, your PC's broke. And I was like, oh god, you just come back, what are you going to look at it all? So I'm like looking at what it is, and I could see that it hadn't really broke, it had run out of hard drive space. And I was like looking, well, why is it, viruses, all the things go through, and eventually realised through painfully, because it had no space, so you could hardly use it. I realised
there's not even any swap file left in the computer.
I painfully came to the conclusion that there was a video file that was generating. For 72 hours, it had been happily recording everything that they've been doing on the PC. And then it was like, then realised that what had happened, Mira had pressed it, because she's always bashing the keys, as kids do. And she must have somehow hit Alt and F9 at the same time and happily left it recording. But it was so useful because suddenly I could record before I was using software recording, and
like OPS and stuff
Action,
that,
which is very, very good, but it will only do for those who haven't got a recording card, graphics card, Action as a software recording tool on your desktop is really, really good. If you want to, because that's one thing I'll say to our listeners. I was saying on our Discord chat, but with the YouTube channel, I don't want it just be me or even the host. For me, it should be something for everybody. So, if anybody fancies recording any footage of any of their favourite games, we're happily, as long as it's it's not going to get us sent to prison. We're happy to upload it. So
so I have to watch the copyrighted music.
Well, to be honest, with the copyright music,
it does do the check and says it's okay.
Yeah, it will say that there's no limitation because we're not worried about we have no big ideals with this. We're not going to monetize this.
Monetize it, no.
So we're not so fast with that. But it's
Listen, when you cut, you've got your webcam image of you sitting in your underpants in the bottom right corner, right, playing these games when they're streaming like that. No wonder we don't get that many views on it, mate. Right?
Do you think I should get me moobs out? Seems
to
work for a lot of YouTubers out there, shall we say?
Yeah, you need to do the Lewis Capaldi kind of thing, and then you'll be all right.
Well, as I say, I'm having a blast here, and I'm really chuffed with the results of this HDMI recorder.
Good. I'm looking forward to seeing the results of this. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So should we get on to the show itself?
I think we should.
So, as mentioned, this is the Neo Retro Arcade Racers, which is a fancy way of saying new arcade racers. And but I want to say Neo Retro because it is ones that harken back to an earlier day.
And that's important, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And this is where we thought we'd discuss some of our favourite arcade racers. Now, admittedly, they are all on Techno Parrot, so because I thought that was important as well. That to some of our listeners, admittedly, you need quite a meaty PC, but at least giving them the ability to play some of these games if they wanted to.
Or keep an eye on them if you do pop to an arcade. Because they are all about there. I mean, a number of these games I've played in recent years.
Yeah, I mean, almost all of them I've played in the actual arcade, and I always make a beeline to it. But they are getting more and more difficult to find these days. Mm-hmm. And every single one of these, if I could send a wish list to Arcade Club in Bury and say, please, can we have these machines? Probably every single one of these would be on my wish list.
Yeah. For sure.
And so I think we've got an awesome lineup of games, and I thought it'd be interesting before we go into the actual games itself. Let's briefly discuss what we mean when we say an arcade racer, because I think that's important to how do we define an arcade?
Define
racer?
This, yeah.
So
I'll
go to you, Kingy, first.
Okay,
I always go to you because then
I know, say shit, it's put me on the spot.
I could just say that.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at games back in the day, where it'd be Outrun or Chase HQ or Wick Le Mans or I'm trying to think what other ones I would play. even going back, right, one of the first real early racers that captured me, and I was delighted to find it in Arcade Club, was Sega's Turbo.
Yes, I remember how
Right, and
excited
that's
you
going
were
back.
with
Is that
that,
about?
yeah.
It's about 82, 83 or
Yeah,
something like
yeah.
that. That is. I can't remember the date precisely.
About 82, yeah.
We covered that in our Evolution of Racers episode, and I was glued to that back in the day. And it's just racing in its purest form. There's no need for technical things. Now, some of these games we cover today will verge on certain, upgrades and things like that, but it's still at an arcade level. So we're not talking about where things evolved to. The F1 series is a good example, whereas Jeff Crammond really wanted to move away just from the arcade style F1 racing and gave, real physics and pit stops and real time events. That doesn't work for Paul and I. It needs just to be almost like a Sega Blue Sky Racer, where there's this, it's almost like a wanderlust in driving, where you just hit that road, put your foot in the pedal, and you're enjoying the scenery just as much as you're enjoying the swerving in the cars. Over-exaggerated physics, most modern games have drifting now. That wasn't really a thing in the past back then. A bit turbo boost, lots of traffic to avoid, crazy jumps, maybe power-ups, whatnot else, but just this drive to be first in a race that's crazy. That's, to me, an arcade racer.
Yes.
What about yourself?
No, for me, I gave probably far too much thought with this, but I think ultimately arcade racing for me means a racing game where it puts fun before reality. I think that if you were to encapsulate it,
Well put.
yeah.
Yeah.
And unlike you, it's got to make you feel like a badass. You've got the drifting the corners, feeling cool, dodging that traffic as you mentioned, and that wonderful beating your rivals to the finish line for a win. It's such a boost, isn't it? And
Yes.
and you're right, it's got to have, I love as well that they don't take the locations that seriously as well. You've got you mentioned the blue skies, but they're exotic locales. I mean, a lot of these you'll be going in, up against dinosaurs running across or big yeti
Yeah, the
monsters.
hyper-realistic locations, yeah.
Exactly. And it just makes me feel just really, really happy as I play this subgenre, and that's what I sort of would love. Every single one that we're about to talk about, if they released it in the on the consoles, even though I have access to it, I'd buy it in a heartbeat. And I have done.
I'm with you there.
When Cruising Blast came out on the
Yeah.
Switch. Bought it day one, I mean, I just,
Oh, you were on about it like anything.
well,
It was like,
I've done a video of it. I mean, people can see how cool it is. It's just a great little racer.
Yeah, he's a bit like Spud out of Train Spotting, right, in his job interview when he's talking about this game, because he's so ripped out his tits on the game itself that.
But I do find, because I think all of our listeners know that, I sometimes struggle with. Mentally with mental health and things, and one of the things
We've all got shit going on
with
at
all
the
this,
moment, mate, and understand.
but one of the
that,
things I do, and it works more than anything, more than tablets, more than anything, is just sitting down and playing arcade racers and just having a blast.
Incredible, isn't it? Yeah.
It's a whole thing. The music, the wonderful bright colours, the locations, and it's just fun, and it just gives you that. Was it neurotonin or whatever it's called? The boost that you need to make you feel good again. So yeah,
they do this, and back to that point then. That obviously we're speaking about new games, but we've defined what an arcade racer has meant to us throughout the evolution of racing, and we're saying that the games on this list here capture the spirit of how racing games have always felt for us. I think that's an important thing to say there, because we are a retro show, but we're discussing something particularly you wouldn't, even though they're maybe a decade old now, you wouldn't particularly consider them this retro, but the capture the spirit of the zeitgeist again of what we think arcade races should be. So it gives you that buzz when you go to an arcade amusement and you sit in, admittedly, far more comfier seats these days, far more frills on the game. There'll be subwoofers under your arsehole that if you had a curry the night before, it's a bit worrying sitting on that playing one of these games. You know, you may have a little accident. But yeah, the essence is still there, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, it is, and that's the thing, really. You had, as you mentioned, I mean, pretty much all racers back in the day were arcade racers because they couldn't do the simulation, and it was simulation was the outliers, and really it was when Gran Turismo came along that flipped on its head. Suddenly everybody wanted realism, and arcade racers became the outliers, wasn't it?
Yeah, and arcades couldn't give you anything but that because...
Well, they've got to take your dime, isn't it? You know.
Yeah, we could technically move on to that in some of the more complex Japanese ones on this particular episode where there's a kind of returnability, which we'll discuss as we go on. But yeah, I get that in the home computers and home consoles that you can create this complexity and, you know, I mean, I remember playing, my mate was a huge fan of the Codemasters tow car, you know, official touring cars thing, right? I remember sitting down playing that, right? And how shit it was. The car would just skid off the track. I was like, I can't drift, can't do this, can't do that, can't knock a car out the road.
Press brake?
This isn't... yeah, if you have to press brake on a racing game, right, you've got it wrong here. You know, I mean, all I want is to whack high and low quickly or something like that, you know, to quickly just prevent a collision against a signpost or whatever on the side of the road. That's all I need to worry about. I mean, I did say this before. I bought Gran Turismo. I tried to like it. I struggled getting beyond the license trials.
Yeah. I mean, I did like Gran Turismo. It was something new and exciting.
I can't take that away from it, and I still have it in my collection. I would never sell it. I occasionally go back to it because it's still the replays back in the time after your race because of the way the graphics worked on it were incredible to watch back then.
And you know, when we were so used to just like individual cars, maybe like a handful of cars, to suddenly have like
Infinite.
Well, like 100 cars or whatever it was, ridiculous.
Licensed as well, not just one licensed car like Outrun, right? We're talking, you know, went to every dealership where you wanted a Skoda or a Yugo from the Eastern Bloc, or you know, BMW, Audi.
Yeah, well, that was it. I mean, we were used to like, you know, I mean, we talked about that Porsche Challenge, or you had obviously Jaguar XJ220. It was one car really. Sometimes you had like just a handful from the same manufacturer, but I mean it did sort of flip the script. But then I kind of miss those days, you know.
It's overwhelming. I mean, there's some games that, you know, because they got the license deals, even as an arcade racer, we'll get onto it again. There's a huge choice again, and I just sit there going, holy shit, just choose one for me.
I just choose
race.
Yeah, I mean, because that's the thing, when you look,
I don't care enough.
Yeah, exactly. And all you look at really, and not you just look at, is it fast? You know, is it fast? Is it accelerator? You don't really care about.
Yeah, well, it depends. There are some games where I think you perform better when you don't see the car, so you change the viewpoint to cockpit view, right? So you're even not seeing the graphic. Yeah, there's different handlings of cars on it, and you might find the weapon of your choice, but beyond that, it becomes just insane, to be honest. Pointless, needless.
Yeah, absolutely.
3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, so should we go on to
Let's
games?
go.
So we've actually got, including some of the more honourable mentions, probably about 13 major games to cover here. So a racer's dozen we've got to get through here. So it'll be fun.
Oh, I love that. You thought about that, didn't you?
I was, can we make it up to 30? I thought, can we? So yeah, but the first one, these are in no particular order. I just thought as we listed them,
Okay.
because it doesn't really matter. There's no particular evolution,
Doesn't?
so
No.
it's just. And I thought the mix was pretty good. So the first game actually is H2 Overdrive. Now this came out in 2009. It's done by Raw Thrills, published by Raw Thrills, but it's actually developed. So obviously Raw Thrills, just to remind people, this is Eugene Jarvis's company. Co-founded it. So this is a guy that made Defender, Robotron 2084, Smash TV, and of course the Cruising series, which I absolutely adore. And he did it with Andrew Eloff, that was the other co-founder of Rare Thrills. And he worked on things like San Francisco Rush 2049 and another game called Hydro Thunder, which if you've played H2 Overdrive, you'll see it's very much a spiritual...
Yeah, I played that on my Dreamcast.
Oh yeah, absolutely adore H2 Overdrive. It's a really
great
good
game.
And the developers behind this, because it wasn't Raw Thrills, is the Specular Interactive. Now they're better known as Visual Concepts South today. They do all the NBA 2K games. But the people that worked...
Boring.
Yeah, but the people who worked on this game, these pretty much all of them, they worked on Cruising USA, on the N64 port, I should say. But also the Midway 1999 arcade classic Hydro Thunder that we were mentioning, which, and this is, they don't even try to hide it. This is a sequel to Hydro Thunder. They obviously couldn't get the name, so they just called it H2 Overdrive, which I think is a pretty cool name.
It's cool. Fantastic title, yeah.
And if you've not seen H2 Overdrive or Hydro Thunder for that matter, it's basically cruising, like Cruising USA and games like that, but in a speedboat. So it's toy box physics, it's cool, mad locations. You'll see Yetis, dinosaurs, massive jumps, isn't it? Really imaginative stuff. And the game centres around picking up boosts. As you race, there'll be boosts along the track, and if you pick them up, you can use that boost at your choosing by pressing the boost button. That's really important, because if you don't pick up any of those boosts, you will not win the race.
So do you prefer a biscuit boost or a peanut boost? Just out of question for your chocolate bars.
I like the peanut boost. I always go
Good for you,
peanuts.
right. Much respect, mate, much respect. Anyway.
And but I just think it's fab tracks, addictive gameplay. I absolutely adore this. I think it's a really good sequel. What's your thoughts on this, and had you played it before?
Yeah, I can't remember where. A lot of times you come out the Odeon cinema and there's a bunch of games there, or there used to be. They're all gone now. Actually, post-COVID, it's been shit. You've returned there and all that kind of thing that added to your evening at the cinema is all gone now, which is a bit shit. But yeah, I just remember seeing this and going, well, I know this game very well. And, you didn't respect or appreciate that it was just a continuation with the same people, if you know what I mean.
Just thought it was a pastiche.
Yes, absolutely. So, as much as I played it on the Dreamcast, the spiritual predecessor, Hydro Thunder, this, I think it's brilliant. I think at this point, remember when Wave Race came out on the N64, you just thought water effects couldn't get any better, right? And then GameCube came out and it's like, oh, water effects even got better. This is this point where the water just looks gorgeous. It's a nice, different take on racing games. There hasn't been that many racing games on water over the years generally, has there?
Many.
There's a number. We can name now, even the James Bond series we've covered racing on water and that. But was that Live and Let Die, wasn't it?
It also had sections of...
Yeah, for sure. Water games for me is playing Tubin in the arcade or a bit Spy Hunter, going in the water there. So I just love this whole kind of futuristic wipe out in water kind of thing. You can choose your craft with lots of spikes round the outside of it. Lots of choices of tracks. the crazy jumps, you know, collecting the boosts as you said, and using them wisely, because if you use them too early, you're screwed.
Yeah.
You're not going to catch. You're going to become about 4th or 5th in the race, because there's that just frantic bit at the very end. Because it's good to say the tracks on this game aren't in loops. It's one continuous waterway, and I much prefer my racers to be.
Yeah, because you're seeing something new all the time, isn't it?
Exactly that. It's just candy to the eyeballs, isn't it? Different things going on. So the thematic changes to the levels are great, because obviously you've got sort of kind of Atlantis-like things, Venice, Bermuda Triangle things. I think, if I remember right now, playing that.
You're up, as I say, you got the Lost Kingdoms, isn't it? You see dinosaurs running past. There's
that's great.
There's big
brilliant.
spiders, isn't there? Which I don't like. You jump through all the big spiders.
It's amazing in these games, and most of the graphics in these kind of great racing games are occupied with things in the peripheral, aren't they? And I love that kind of thing, you know, where there's big wheels. You know, there's a kind of Japanese waterway themed level. There's
awesome.
big wheels, the big metropolis with the neon lights and the adverts. It's just gorgeous eye candy to look at all the time, and I just love it. I mean, it does handle and feel different from, I suppose, a tarmac racing game, if you want to call it that, right? You feel you are splashing in the water. I love how you launch in the air, and as soon as the craft bombards the water, there's a big, huge, almighty splash. It's just absolutely brilliant. It's a good vibe of a futuristic racer.
It is, yeah.
On the waterways,
and it's just, there's always so much going on. I mean, you know, when there's like explosions, you get big waves where you know, and you can do jumps like on your own accord to try and get those, because you're like, how do I get those boosts up there? You know, you got to do the jumps at the right time. But you know, I mean, whether you're doing Quake Canyon or any of them, they're just a complete joy to play, isn't it? Really.
It's incredible.
Yeah. I mean, whenever I'm playing it, I can't stop. I'm like, I've got to play all the tracks, and then I go back and play the other. You know, when I took footage for this, I mean, all these games really, I took so much footage, far more than I needed to, because I was having fun and I didn't want to stop. It wasn't like.
And that's the point to say, for most of the games, we've both recorded footage. So for our companion.
Yeah.
You know, YouTube one with the audio on this, we've got us. It's not just ripped footage from the internet. It's actually ourselves playing the game.
And I'll show on the, you know, in the little probably bottom right, you know, whose footage.
Who's playing.
So you can see how much better I am at.
Oh, absolutely, I know that. You have more time in your hands than I do.
Oh,
these
well,
days.
I was saying to Kingy, I'm going to choose all his bad bits and make it look really bad, so I look good. No, this is a real joy. It's got lovely variety of tracks and perfect physics. I'd love to see. Because you're right, I mean, with the Hydro Thunder, you had the original game, and then there was, and the name escapes me now, there was certainly on the Xbox 360, there was a sequel done by a lot of the same team. I think it was Hydro, I can't remember what it's called now. It was Hydro Thunder, something else. But yeah, that's really, really good. I'll try and grab some footage for that to show separately in our video channel. But this, you know, this to me, this is by far I think the best. It's got such variety in the tracks. It's a lot of, you know, as much as I love all of the games, this is everything that was good about the originals, but with better graphics. So it's a real gem, and I was lucky enough to didn't play it when it came out, but I have seen it. See where I saw it? It was when in Blackpool, not at the Play Expo event itself, but in the arcades that are at Blackpool. There's
like Coral Island and things like that.
Yeah. But I think it was one of the ones on the pier. And it was, this just great, you know. So I was there, I was like, oh my word, you know, this is fantastic. Because I obviously had played it through Technopower. So to see the actual arcade machine. I love the London track as well on this. Yeah,
That's great, isn't it?
And I love how you go, you go from pretty grim London in the Thames and pollution to like Oxford.
What's a true? What I like about this is the balance. I think for casual players, there's a game there, and for more nuanced players, finding the shortcuts and whatnot else. That it's a game on two levels, which you can play in any way you want. And I think that's fantastic to have that ability, because if you're on holiday with your family, right, the kids would love it. Your wife might even like it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it gives everybody an ability to play it, and it's great. I would seek these out if you're out in the wild and are there, because we do drift away from the arcade. We have all drifted away from the arcades. They're not the places we recall them, and we are very quite bitter old men about it, to be honest. But there is still excellent fun to be had.
There is, although I haven't said that, I don't think it's necessarily the fault of ourselves. You often, whenever you see like some of these games, when we'll come up to, when I have seen them, they've disappeared very, very quick. But the trouble is, if you don't have the skills to maintain them, then you're buggered. Yeah, I think it's partly the skills to maintain, but also it's just clearly things like your fruit machines and your coin pushers make better returns. I think that's what it is. And at the end of the day, they're trying to make a business, aren't they? That's the sad truth.
At the end of the day, video games. The minute video games became just as advanced at home, then that was them. That profit margin was screwed, because, well, I can play that at home. That's what people said. I mean, this is the point of any arcade game, and like back to what I was saying about emulation is, of course, I'm going to be happy to accept within. I'm saying 90%, even 80% is close to the arcade original, because we grew up with arcade ports, and our imagination made the game the rest of the percentage that it was the arcade game you were playing, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was it. I mean, it's true. Now, modern consoles, or even last-gen consoles, could play these arcade games perfectly. And I'm sure that's part of the factor why Raw Thrills don't tend to release them in the home. And because I kind of get that, is that they're trying to keep the arcade alive, and if they release them too quickly at home. But it's a great one. I think it's a great one starting out with the H2 Overdrive.
Yeah, good choice.
So shall we go on to our second choice? So this is Dirty Drivin, 2011. Yeah. This is another Raw Thrills game. Again, it's the same developers, same Raw Thrills published, and the same developers who did H2 Overdrive. This time you're in 4x4 vehicles, and it mixes in Mario Kart with All Out Mayhem. So you've got missiles, cool Gatling guns.
Gatling guns,
mines. You can make yourself go mini to tiny truck, but it's like mighty powerful, so you can knock people out the way. Which I think is a nice play on, that's seen as to penalise you in Mario Kart, but this makes you go faster and bash people out the way. You've got killer wheels, which also sort of knocks people out of the way. And I love how all of this is, you do it by yanking your crank. Yank your crank.
It shouts at you to do that very often, to be honest.
Yank your crank, which Kingy did dutifully, didn't you, Kingy?
I did. You've got to take one for the team, mate.
So what this is in the arcade itself is you have there's a metal lever with a chrome skull on the top, and that's your yanking the crank. So when you're firing off weapons, when you're firing off your weapon, you yank your crank, don't you? Of course. And I just think it's a great idea, and I love the fact that you get to the end of every end of the game when you've completed. It does like a fruit machine type thing where there's like a random choice.
Yeah.
So, and that's really clever because it keeps you wanting to play, because it gives you, say you win, I don't know, like a missile for your next, or a turbo boost for your next game. So you'll start with that, but only if you put more money in to play the next game. So I think it's really clever. And of course you can upgrade all your vehicles, which is nice. So they don't really help with performance, but you can make your vehicle look really, really cool. So of course that's nice that you can do, like, store it all on a key code, so you can go back to it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the point of these games. Is this is one of the first ones we're mentioning, where you get a PIN number to continue on with this, and this is where things are changing now. You know, an arcade game traditionally would just send you back to the beginning if you didn't continue to put coins in, and this allowed you with that PIN number to come back and continue as you were at a later date, and that only modern technology really allowed for that, to be honest. So
Yeah, and this has, you know, great levels, isn't it? You've got your sort of like lost Paradise City, isn't it, with all like ruined buildings and just the whole host of tracks. I love the Colosseum with the big robotic T-Rex, isn't it, and things like that. I mean, what did you think of this game, and what was...
You have this dinosaur fetish, don't you?
I do.
Every
you
time there's a
that,
dinosaur in a game. Yeah, I've noticed that. You were praising that every time the T-Rex is there.
You can't beat a dinosaur in a racing game.
Yeah, this is one that I've never seen in the arcades. I wish I will always look out for it. I've not been fortunate enough to see this one, but I think it's a brilliant, you know, kart racer on steroids.
Yeah,
that's the best way to put it. It's absolutely brilliant. I mean, the game on the title screen is introduced by White Zombies, more human than human, right? I love that song, more human than human. Brilliant song, but visually it's absolutely incredible. So you always you choose a whole variety, as you said, whether it be 4x4s or, you know, rugged vehicles. That's probably the best way to describe it, because there's monster trucks, there's muscle cars as well, lorries, big trucks, things like that. It's completely over the top. That's what makes it very arcadey.
Yes, yeah.
You know, where you have a big Yeti in the snow levels blocking access to the tunnel, thumping the ground, slip between its legs, similar to the T-Rex blocking the way. I just think it's great fun. The power-ups are great, the weapons to use, they're in abundance. I mean, imagine this, like all these games, not that you see it often in the arcades we go to, because we only have one version of it, but you can imagine the big arcades in Japan or America where they're all networked and 8 players. That's where the fun would begin. Imagine if more of that was available. Imagine the banter.
Oh yeah, and this would be just so awesome. I mean, this is another. Can you imagine, like on modern consoles, being able to play this online with your mates? It'd just be, you know,
it'd be absolutely fantastic.
Because you know, it's quite generous. I mean, there's 7 tracks and then 7 flipped versions of the tracks.
That's right.
And you're right. Every single one is unique. You've got the Brawl of Siam, which is the one with a big robotic dinosaur, and you know, you're just racing around, very cool. You've got Volcano Island, you've got is it Death on an Isle, I think it's called, or something like that, where it's like you know, you're racing along pyramids and things like that. Lost City, which is like a rundown sort of like apocalyptic city that's like all overgrown.
Yeah.
You've got, I can't remember, like factory level, isn't it? And
yeah, everything.
Alpine.
Even though in all the themes, it does feel, no matter what thematic world you're in, there's a kind of urban decay to them all, isn't there?
Yeah, and I think that's their sort of thing. Is it's kind of it's like almost imagining an apocalyptic world, and
yes,
there's this like illegal racing, because you've got commentators sort of like, you know, saying, oh, you know, and actually capturing what's happening on the screen pretty well. Yeah, I'm always a little bit of a sucker for things like that, but it's nice. And I love as well when you get to the end of the game, you get the dirty rank, where they tell you how much of a git you've been, and you even get a jerk bonus for being a jerk. And it's just so fun, isn't it? Like if you do a boost or whatever at the right time, you don't just like hit into the cars, you send them flying.
Oh, absolutely. It's ultra realistic, and that's what makes it fun. It's pure arcade.
Oh, it is, yeah. I mean, it is just hilarious to see. Of course, it is absolute pandemonium. That's the only thing. Is there's times when I'm like well on track to win, and you get to the last corner, and it's a bit like Mario Kart with this, and suddenly everything's going on, and before you know it, you're like, how did I finish sixth? I was first.
Yeah.
And, but the sign of a good game is that you don't say, oh, that's it, I'm done. You're like, well, I'm putting more money in. Like, I'll show you little gits. Yeah, but I had a lot of fun with this one, and it sounds like you had quite a bit of fun with this one as well.
Oh, I think it's brilliant. I mean, I don't always go for kart racers in the arcade, simply because I think, well, let's be honest, Mario Kart itself perfected that.
Mario Kart in the arcade is rubbish, isn't it? I don't know what they did that doesn't work, because on paper it should be the best thing ever, Mario Kart in the arcade.
You'd think, but it's still down at my local arcades just now, and no one plays it.
Yeah, it's just not fun. I mean, Charlie and me have played it many a time, and it's just not fun. I mean, they've got it now in. I mean, you get a lot of people play it at Arcade Club on free play, but yeah, I mean, every time Charlie, it's just not fun. You don't feel the speed or anything. It's bizarre. Yeah. It was bizarre how they mucked that up. And just as a side, it just seems mad to me. They managed to muck such a good thing.
The kids are. I mean, I suppose it's like Arcade Club, right? You have all these arcade machines and everything else, even things that will attract kids. But there's a networked area where there's Fortnite on network, and even though they can play at home, families come down and the kids will spend the day on the very game they could play in the house.
Yeah, no, it's ridiculous, isn't it? But I guess it's what you know, isn't it? What you're comfortable with. But it's.
I'm comfortable with every arcade game ever.
I know. But could you imagine, like, as we go through all these games, could you imagine, like, if Arcade Club in a corner somewhere, they got that VR room.
Floor.
They replaced that VR room and they had it with all these games. That'd be awesome. I
could actually spend an entire weekend just dedicated to
exactly. That. I was looking at some of the games because, like, obviously when doing research, it comes up with, and I know they're really overpriced, but you know, Liberty Games and things sell. I think some of these were like 29,000. That's ridiculous.
They're very rare in the wild. That's the point. It's just and who has room for these?
Well,
these
it's not just a room. I mean, you see in Arcade Club, these are always, the next game we'll come up to, they have in Arcade Club, and it's always breaking down. And these guys know what they do to fix them. Can you imagine, like, if it was us? It would just be sitting broken, wouldn't it? Because until you get someone out to fix it.
Well, these are very specialist now. It's not just. I mean, you can imagine training. It's all one of these. I mean, the technicians in Arcade Club are absolutely fantastic, right? I love actually when the room was up on the arcade floor. I used to like just watching them repair the boards, and I was like, wow, these guys are really at it and working. But these are modern arcade things, and you're talking about, there's pneumatics and motors, and it's not just a circuit board anymore. There's a lot of other things making these games more tactile. The force feedback on the steering wheel, or that could grow. Or, there are far more bespoke buttons on these. Imagine if the crank is knackered on that. It's not just your standard button that you'd replace on Pac-Man, is it?
No, that's it.
Joystick, what I mean?
There's just so much that could go wrong with it. So, I mean, this is why I'm so thankful for something like Power, is that it gives you access to these games, and honestly, I'd much rather if they allow me to buy them in the home. I'd buy it in a heartbeat. But until that day, at least now I can play these games. Because unlike you, the Dirty Drivin, I have, it came out in 2011. That's a long time ago, and in all those years, I go to every arcade I possibly can. I've never ever seen it,
No, not at all.
And it's a real shame because it's. I mean, when you see pictures of the cabinet, you know, it all looks really, really cool with that big, the crank to yank, and
Yeah.
yeah, just really, really nicely done.
Bring it on, my baby. Tell me, are you ready? I got the fire shining bright. I'm alright, ready for the night. I've got to keep on moving to the rhythm. I'm okay, I can feel no pain. Don't wanna see you wasting away. So you can
Right. Okay.
Anyway,
so should we
sorry,
go on
right.
to the next game then?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to this.
So
one, yeah.
this is, you know, as we mentioned with Raw Thrills, how awesome they are, and how I would love to see like a Raw Thrills compilation, or just even if they sold the games individually. Another company that I would love to see bring more of their games to the home is Sega. They've got so many fantastic arcade races.
Yeah.
But one that maybe a lot of our listeners have not had, particularly if they've not been able to go to Arcade Club, might not have had any exposure with, is Initial D. Now this is a long-running series. The one we're going to focus on is the 8th in the series, which is Initial D Stage 8 Infinity.
Infinity.
You know, because I guess that's the 8 on a side is infinity, isn't it? So,
Yeah. Well sussed, Mr. Driscoll.
yeah, see,
well
you
sussed.
see, they
Golden
don't make
star
me
for
the
you.
smart. Yeah, don't call me the smart cookie.
You've got, yep, he's got the smarts, folks. He's got the smarts. He's got the farts
Got
as
the
well,
farts
but
and
that's beside the point.
Yeah. This came out in 2014. Now, maybe a lot of our listeners don't know that this is actually based on a manga and anime series. Quite big.
great.
I'll put in the show notes, because you can. A lot of the anime is on YouTube, so it's quite a fun little watch. It's all about legal car racing in Japan, and it's like on mountainous roads.
Do you think it's a problem in Japan?
I don't think. I think maybe historically it probably was, but then we had racing problems in this country as well. I think it's just something that we got.
Oh, we call them twats.
Yeah, well they are, but I mean we certainly had like issues. I mean, I remember even as a kid, Western Supermare in particular, which was like the local arcades, you'd get them all racing around on the circuit there and things.
Oh, boy car racer wankers.
Yeah. But one of the things I like with the Initial D series is it's kind of like tourism as you're racing. So it's one-on-one. It's always one-on-one racing. That's its thing, and you're up against another rival team, as it were.
Mm-hmm.
And it's mountainous roads. That's the other thing. So nice curvy tracks. You can feel, although you are in control, you can feel how they're making it exciting under the hood in the programming. There's times when you just can't get past somebody, and then suddenly you can easily get past them near the end, and then just as you get to the end of the race, they could pass you unless you...
Yeah, it's kind of cinematic in that way, isn't it?
And of course it gives this big story with all the things. I mean, I always skip the story because I don't really care.
No, I quite like the story in this, mate. I do actually, because
Was yours patched? Because mine was in Japanese, which probably didn't help.
No, that's the thing. I sat down and read about it and went, I wish. I mean, I've seen YouTube videos, it's all in bloody English, and it's like, not my version, because Muggins here got the all-you-can-eat buffet, so, it's not, perfectly honed. But I love the idea where you've got the main protagonist, right, where it starts off at high school, he's working in a gas station, and he gets dragged into the illegal street racing because his dad, before him, was a renowned driver, and he's got it in his inverted commas DNA,
Isn't that the story of Fast and Furious films?
Pretty much, it's cliched in that way, but it's good to have for a whole series, a core story and the evolution of this character. And, you know, it makes an arcade game, I suppose, make me sound like a hypocrite. You know, there's a bit more longevity in the series.
Yeah, they're sort of following
you know,
on. And that's one of the things that's
following on the
frustrating
story,
in Arcade Club. Of course, you don't have the card function because it's very much, it's a long time to play it in one sitting. And
yeah, you can't.
Yeah,
That's the simple thing.
And
It's
without the
you'd be
card,
booted off for being a hugger.
well, that's it. Even if you stuck it. I mean, I've when it's been super quiet, I've given like initial D, stage 8.
Actually, can I digress for a second about people that hog things? I know I'm totally pausing. Make the pause sound, Paul. Record scratching. Right? Back to Play Expo in Glasgow. Right? Just for a second, there was an arsehole of an older guy being a twat on a pinball machine. Right?
There's no way to call yourself.
Yeah, it wasn't. I was waiting in the queue patiently. I always started next to me. He was playing Hang On the machine next to me. Okay. It was right in the corner, and the pinball table was there, really dying to play it, and he was on it, and he was on it, and I know there's a tactile game of playing the table, and you kind of, try not to activate the tilt alarms. He was slapping this thing, right, to the point the whole machine broke, and he spun in his heels, and I thought he had finished. And he's like, it's broken, mate, and I noticed they had just totally damaged the thing, and I actually followed him and gave him expletives because he was a twat. Yeah. Absolute twat, older wanker of a guy. And if you're listening, you're a wanker.
Better now? Have you cleansed your?
Yes, so I've got that in my system, right? So don't be a hugger and don't be a wanker when you're on these things. Anyway, back to the game.
Back to the game.
Anyway,
right.
you may resume,
okay.
mate. So
yeah, no, I mean, yeah, it's one of the things with because you got the story, but I just love. I mean, the main thing I love about the game is the fact that it feels a bit like tourism because it's like really it's clearly in Japan, and it's the countrysides of Japan, which is.
Do you know what I call this game?
What's that?
This is Shenmue the Racer.
Shenmue the Racer. That's a good way of saying it because you're going through little villages and mountain roads. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it is. I love with that, and of course it's accompanied by really, really cheesy pop music that only Sega could
shit.
do. I knew you'd hate it, but it makes me smile. As I was listening to the music, I was thinking, Kingy's hate. I knew you'd hate this. It's not my favourite.
There's more cheese on this than my pizza I had on Friday night.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love little touches as well because you got like the water in a bucket, so that denotes. So basically, as you race, you could, rather than like give you negative kudos points or however else they've done it or damage to your car, it's basically a bucket of water, and every time you crash or you take a corner too harshly, it spills some of that water. I just think it's such a lo-fi cool way of depicting.
You know where that comes from?
I expect they do it in arcade racing, but where is it from?
I think what remembered me off, right, was what's his name from the Lost Boys, Corey Feldman, who died, or was it Haim? I'll get them all muddled up. Corey Haim, whatever one it was, right? He was in a movie called License to Drive, and his driving instructor, when he was sitting his test, put a coffee cup on the dashboard, and that was the acid test of how well you drove. You cannot spill hot coffee on your driving instructor.
Sounds a bit dangerous, doesn't it? It suddenly breaks.
Slam the brakes on them, burn his balls.
Burn everybody. Yeah. It probably is from that. I've never seen that film, but I just really, really enjoy it. Shenmue the Racer, I think, is a good way of describing it. Really.
That's the way I see it. It's complete tourism in rural Japan, and every scene and every corner and every village or small town you drive through is just gorgeous. I mean, the attention to, it's arcade realism, but there's every leaf on every tree. It's like we've all done Google Maps and Street View, and there's nothing more fascinating than just jumping over Japan and I've done it with my Oculus Rift and diving in, and it's like, wow, I've never been there, and I would love to go there one day. And this is just selling it to you, it captures the spirit of away from the sprawling mega metropolis of Tokyo and whatnot. It's just a beautiful game, and you can appreciate there's for legions of the fans, there's a whole story mode there, right? Unfortunately, with the same in Arcade Club, is this Japanese version. You just like skip. Sometimes with the Japanese games, it's like, well, what is the sub menu? What am I choosing as the mode of the game? Isn't it? That's the issue. You get used to it. You make a few balls ups in Arcade Club, and you're like, right, I know. We'll go there now and know what to do to get the game started, and it's absolutely fantastic to play. To play this at home it's down the road. This is the Initial D. I don't know what it is now. I can't remember, but it's down at my local arcade.
Is it?
As well?
Oh, you're lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause it's, I've never, until I was at Arcade Club, I've never seen this in the wild.
Yeah, it's down there, and it's all in Japanese as well, but it's still there to this day, so it must be making money by someone.
Well, it's certainly popular in Arcade Club. People always go on that, isn't it? Because it's it's nice you've got the two players you can play versus as well. Because that's the thing, you've got like the main story mode, you've got time attack mode, which is the usual thing, you've got tag battle, so that's where you and another colleague is racing in the same location, so it's basically like rival type thing. And there's others where you can like race rival characters from the anime, so it's just not following the story, just individual races.
We can't. We're not in that place to follow that story anyway. That's the point.
No, I mean,
it?
although I'm quite tempted, if I've ever got time, I might use, because you know I mentioned before that Papago app, where you can, particularly really good with Japanese, you can just take a photo. I might one time.
But there must be NTSC American
patching
kind of mods this, because the YouTube videos have all got the language on it.
Yeah.
So
I find, I mean, I don't know what the people do that different. I mean, there's another game where I put the patch on, the English patch, and it works for like the first 3 tracks or whatever, and then the game crashes. So I just don't know,
See, in the game settings, right, there's obviously a copyright dongle mode, and there's also, I can't remember, there's 2 bits you choose the region. One may have a better influence on the language pack. I don't know, I'm still relatively new to the complications of Technoparrot in that way, that I'm not entirely sure, because imagine playing this. I mean, you don't get the whole series and offer in Technoparrot, and I would have to go back and go, well, you're going back many years.
Well, there's quite a few Initial D that Technoparrot does. I think it goes from about 4.
But is there any in MAME? That's the point I'm asking you, because
they never seem to work when I try. And so, some of the early ones you can get home ports of. I know the PS2, but I think it's like you have to get like the Japanese version of it and things like that. So it's just a bit of a faff. But I think and I might be wrong, but Initial D, it seems very, very, when I've tried the ones on Technoparrot, it's basically seems to be pretty much the same story told again and again, or it all seems the same roads. I might be completely wrong with that, but for somebody who doesn't speak Japanese, it all, there's not, apart from graphical fidelity, there's nothing that jumps out and say, well, this is vastly different. I need to.
Yeah.
This doesn't seem to be.
I mean, anyone looking for an arcade racer and they want to tap into this is the place to go. I mean, for our Discord regulars that come down to arcade, well, it's gone from Arcade Club now, isn't it?
This one's
Leeds,
here.
I think.
It's
still there, aren't
Initial
it?
D, it's Wagan.
It's Wagan.
Racing,
Yeah, that's right.
Sadly disappeared.
I always get muddled because there's similarities. Sorry, apologies. I urge our friends that are coming down to us at Arcade Club in October.
Yeah.
Which we forgot to mention at the start of the bloody show.
Well, when it,
because we're so professional.
When is it in October?
Friday the 13th.
Is it Friday the 13th?
October. Yeah.
Yeah.
Friday the 13th, Saturday the 14th of October this year.
I'm really.
Let me check that. Please put pause on for a moment, folks. Well, I always doubt myself. October. Yep, Friday the 13th and Saturday the 14th. We are in the Arcade Club, everyone.
Awesome.
Everyone is welcome in Bury. It's fantastic. And
that's one thing, again, which I didn't mention at the top end because we all got in our little rants. I'll put in another sort of like extra section at the end of this podcast because there's another meetup in August, not done by us, but Timeless Gaming. So it's basically, he's a Twitch sort of like gamer, but does tend to. It's Mags, and he does. He clearly loves all games, but I think he does a lot of the older games on Twitch, so he's sort of like singing the praises. Anyway, him and another Twitch gamer, they've done this 1 year before, but they've basically booked out Arcade Club. I think it's on Wednesday the 16th of August. 16th of August. And I think it's cool. So obviously it's sort of you have to pay, I can't remember what it's, but I'll come in when it comes to it. But I think it's like £30, or there's like a VIP one which lets you go in an hour early, which is £50.
Okay.
Which sounds quite expensive, but they're getting a lot of extra stuff. It's not just they've opened up Arcade Club. They've got like some guest speakers and a DJ.
I wish I lived closer, mate.
Yeah, well, I'd love that. I don't think I'll be. I'm going to try and woo the wife. But this year we've got so much going on. So it's like one thing is being able to afford it all is a big one. But also I can't. I'm sort of limited. There's so many retro events. I want to go to that NERG. I want to go to, as I say, this Timeless Gaming. I want to go to Play Expo in Blackpool, because I'd love to go to. I'd love to, not just for Play Expo, but
you know what?
Club in Bay.
Screw it! I'm getting a divorce, so I'm just going to do all these.
I think it's easier, isn't it?
Yeah, go be a bachelor.
Yeah.
That's
but yeah, no, it's a really cool section anyway. I've recorded with him, so listen out for that.
Cool.
But should we go on to the next game? Because we've got an awful lot to go.
Yeah.
But everyone's a banger. And this one is the biggest bang of them all. It is Outrun 2 SDX version.
This is the only reason I turned up for this episode, by the way. It's just this game.
Is my favourite race, and I'd actually say my favourite game of all time. I know that surprises a lot of people because they know how my love of the original Outrun. But I think in all facets, this is the better game. It's just the perfect. An Outrun 2 SDX version, particularly with Techno Parrot, where you can even upscale it further. I suppose I ought to explain actually. So SDX means Super Deluxe version, and what happened is, so the original Outrun 2 came out in 2004.
It was far too popular, so I had to make it better. There you
well,
go.
one of the things with the original Outrun 2 tracks, they did do, as brilliant as the game was and the handling, they did do some really bizarre choices with the levels. You know, you had like a construction site and things like that. And not the most like engaging course to race on. I mean it's still Outrun. I was still happy. But in 2006 they came out with the SP version, which was like special tours, special edition. And that basically gave a whole new set of tracks that were much nicer, really, isn't it? I mean, absolutely gorgeous. You've got like starlit skies. You've got just every single one. The casino, isn't it? Going through like an like Las Vegas type thing. Just gorgeous level designs. And one of the great things is that they didn't just bin off the original Outrun 2 tracks. So unfortunately, they did in the home version. That's a side story. I'm not talking about the online one that they did on the Xbox 360, not the Sumo Digital ones you could buy. Yeah. Because that had both. But in the arcade, you could choose. You can press like the view key, and you can choose between the original Outrun 2 tracks or the new special edition. But the SDX version, which came out the same year, is like the piece de la resistance. Basically, this had everything that was all those tracks, but they'd actually upscaled the graphics so it was better resolution. And so this is the best one to play in the arcade. And it's absolutely awesome that Techno Parrot, because it's an emulator, you can actually upscale things even further. You can actually put it up to 4K if you want. And it just looks absolutely stunning, isn't it, Kingy, when you're playing through it?
Oh, it does.
As I know this is one of your favourites, do you want to describe to our listeners, in case there's anybody under a rock that's never played it?
Well, what you've got to do is go back to the original Outrun and the impact I had on arcade racing back at that time. It just brought hedonism into the arcade racing of some rich yuppie in a car me and you can't afford, right? You know what I mean, right? And the dream, you know, almost the Pacific Coast race, really, you know what I mean? Arm on the elbow, beautiful blonde on your other side. We're so used, even though it's an American game, you still vision UK driving and we driving the left. And I screw up in so many driving games to this day yet because being a driver, I'm conditioned, you know what I mean? But it was it just brought to head the arcade racer in perfection, not having a looping track and having a choice of, you know, when you get to the end of that level stage, if you want, you go left or right, and it goes to a different theme. And if you stuck left, that was the easiest section. There's so many people that love Outrun that you know, we can do an episode on Outrun alone. Let's be honest about it. Driving the Ferrari, you know what I mean, with the, you know, the stallion on the back of the...
Yeah, it's a shame, isn't it? Because you can buy, and it's a very good version, you can buy the Switch version, and I think PS4 got it as well. Annoyingly, not the Xbox. But you can buy that version of the Sega Ages out, which is a really, really good version of Outrun. But they've had to change the car. And admittedly, you get used to it eventually, but it's just like, I just don't understand how. I can't believe it's that expensive to just get a little Ferrari.
Or otherwise, that Ferrari is not selling their car in a bad light.
Yeah.
Right? So, just use it.
The amount of Ferraris that must have been sold on the back of Outrun. It became everybody's dream car.
Yeah, because my old man saw me playing in the arcades, mate, and he went, I'm off to buy one of them cars. Yeah, that's what happened there. But anyway, so Outrun 2 comes along, and Yu Suzuki needs to capture the spirit of the original. If you do not capture the spirit of the original, you're screwed. You're absolutely screwed, right? And this game does it, and some, right? It is... I'll accept it, it's better.
Yeah.
I love the original game, it's spectacular, right? I'll go back and play it. But this one, I don't know. I love, as I said earlier there, you and I go into the arcade club, come on, before it gets busy, we're on here. Our competition is back on, and we're playing this bloody game. And it over-exaggerates the drifting. It's probably the best drifting arcade game that exists.
It's great, isn't it?
Right? The locations, the multi-lane highways, the music, the graphics are still beautiful to this day. And
the visual design is every level, particularly on the special, particularly on the SP tracks, are just stunning. Everyone is a pure delight to look through. And to be honest, the original tracks are not anything to slouch about. They're just a little bit strange choice, but they're still beautiful in their own way.
Absolutely. But this is still Outrun.
Yeah.
It is the very same game, and that's the point, right? They knew what made the original an absolutely fantastic game. We have better animations now. Obviously, the guy is trying to impress the chick in the car, and she's forever clapping her hands when near misses. And that. She's a bloody masochist, right? I mean, she's getting her cheapies from nearly dying. I mean, the sex they're going to have in the hotel room when they get back there that evening is going to be incredible.
Particularly like she's getting her jollies like when you hit another car on your way through. If they go spinning out of control, she's like, ooh, woo, and little hearts appear.
Yeah, absolutely. But no, there's nothing to fault in this game. It is faultless.
It is my favourite. It's one that I just never tire of. I just, just put it on. I'm so pleased to be able to play it.
This is the point as well, right? Now, for years I've played either the PC version that runs at 60 frames per second, right, which is the go-to version, or on the PS2 I have it as well. Both versions are fantastic, right? You play them and it's as close to arcade perfection as you think. You walk away from arcades and you play it and went, yeah, that is the same thing. No, it's not. See when you play this in Technoparrot, the speed that this runs at, is it, oh my god, right, it's untethered. That's the point, right? It's so bloody fast. It's like, holy shit, this is not like the PS2 or the PC version. It's just incredible. And the sun glare that blinds the track because you can't see a bloody thing.
I mean, thankfully they've toned that down, that sun, because originally on Technoparrot for the longest time that was like, it wasn't perfect. Like when you got the sun glare, it just blinded you. But on the later versions, thankfully they got it where it's the perfect version. And it, one of my dreams would be to see an Outrun collection, in the home. You can imagine, like, if they got together the original Outrun, get the Ferrari license, get the original Outrun, Turbo Outrun, Outrunners, all the Master System ones. Get a few of the outliers like Cool Riders and things like that. But also this version, the SDX version of Outrun 2. Upscaled as well, probably beyond what the arcade, as it is in Technoparrot, because this would just this on its own would sell gangbusters, because it still looks as beautiful and in many ways more beautiful than games of even today. Even though this is a 2006 game, it still looks absolutely stunning. I love you get the heart attack mode, which is cool as well. So that's if you get a little bit bored of the racing, there's a heart attack where it's like little challenges that you do for your missus. She'll tell you. Yeah, if you want your oats that night, you've got to take that mode. And she'll like rate you on your performance. So she, and that's a lot of fun. I couldn't stop playing this. I mean, I've already uploaded a video with Outrun to SDX, but I love it so much that when I took the footage, because I thought I managed to convince myself, I need to take more footage, because you don't want like duplicate footage for the show. Really, it was just an excuse to like play it all over again. And I probably grabbed like an hour worth of footage and just having a blast. Absolutely adorable. No, it's incredible. I mean, what I will say, playing with the joypad on Technoparrot is far too sensitive, even turned down to its lowest setting, right? I don't know if you had that issue. I don't know if you had the controller, like on 360 controllers, one I have.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I've got obviously a one controller, but it was the same
whether
thing.
It's but I found it was all right, really.
No, seriously, I was like slight tap to the left. It was like boom. It was like
Automan. Some of the other races, I have that problem, but maybe I've just got.
But the steering wheel itself changed it.
Did it?
Playing it with
another level.
Totally. It's not a level.
I have played it on the steering wheel. I mean, my steering wheel's in storage at the moment, but it's so good. I mean, one of the things, this was like years ago, but when my goddaughter came to see us, I put. She saw the steering wheel. She's only 4, bless her, and at that time, and she was like, "Oh, can you you know, me play kind of thing. And I put on. I thought, what game am I going to put on? And I put on Outrun 2.
I remember you telling me this.
And she was. I mean, she was so advanced for a little age. There she was, getting a little, you know, a little booster on the seat so she could, you know, and I lifted up the, you know, the accelerators and things so she could reach the pedals. And honestly, the whole time, and we were going off to on one of the days to see Cadbury World, you know, chocolate factory, but it's something that a kid would love. We had to like drag her out of the place because she just did not want to leave the steering wheel. But that just shows you how good Outrun 2 is, and
yeah,
I adore it. I mean, I think it's the peak of AM2. I love it. I love the fact that on this version you've got all the, you can choose the original tunes, you can choose the remix tunes. There's also some new tunes as well, which Kingy will hate because they're cheesy Japanese pop.
Oh, they're rubbish, folks. Listen, don't listen to Paul, right? He has no taste in music whatsoever.
I have wide-ranging taste.
That is like
includes
the guy that
cheese.
goes up when Tower Records was a thing. That's the guy that goes up to the top floor and listens to easy listening. But the only reason he's really up there is because the porn stash is up there as well.
Do you know? I'm going to make that my next. By next thing, when we do our next race at Arcade Club, I'm going to put on one of their newer songs just to put you off your game.
You're cruel. You're very cruel.
Is there any more you want to say about this game?
No, I mean, I
think
think
everybody knows
this
it.
is the one that most people will know most and possibly even played.
Yeah, and it's and you're right. We've been really blessed. I mean, there's a lot of home ports that you can play it on. You mentioned the PS2, the Xbox, original Xbox had it.
Yeah.
And so you can buy them through there. The PSP had a really good port, all done by Sumo Digital, which is what Gremlin effectively became. So tying in with our last show, and it's a lots of great home ports. You did have on the 360 and the PS3 digitally. They had, was it Outrun Online? Was it? I think it was called. It was basically just a digital download, but it was annoying that it was just the SP tracks. It didn't have the original Outrun 2, which was particularly disappointing because on the Xbox and PS2 with Outrun 2006 Coast to Coast, that actually had all the tracks, and it had all the extras, and it had all the things. So it was a real shock to suddenly have this like really toned down version, particularly when the arcade version allowed you the extra tracks. It seemed a really bizarre choice. One of the things that is just cool, a lot of people maybe didn't realise, is the original Outrun 2, which was released, it was an Xbox exclusive. That only obviously doesn't have the special edition tracks, but it does have as a hidden game. I still don't like it. The port particularly, but it has the Outrun arcade game, the original Outrun arcade game, as a hidden unlockable, which is nice.
Oh right, I didn't know that.
And you can actually put a cheat code. I think it's like, going from memory, something like Outrun 1986, which of course when it came out. And
that's your password for everything as well, isn't it?
How did you know? But yeah, no, it's cool. It's a lot of fun. It's definitely one of my favourite games. So shall we go on to the next one?
Living on my own, waiting by the phone. Pizza's going home. I'm the pizza man. Who's gonna ride? Choose a cheese and fly. Make it there on time. I'm the pizza man. Rain or shine, fast and free. Select your bike and ride. More cheese, more beer, more cheese. Welcome, mozzarella.
Right, okay, so shall we go on to the next game then?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so this is a real favourite of mine. It's
Yeah,
Radical
yeah.
Bikers. It came out in 1998, so I get that it's not. It's the oldest one of probably on the list.
Yeah, it is. It's the oldest one, correct?
Now I never know how to say the developer. Is it Galico, or I don't know how to say, because
See, that's the trouble. You're used to Jellicoe, right? And I would say Gilco.
Galeco. Yeah, that sounds about right. So basically, this is a Spanish developer, and they came up with this fantastic game called Radical Bikers, which is one of my favourites of all the ones that they did, and we've talked about some of their other games in the past, haven't we, as well? But this is brilliant. It's basically you work for a pizza company, and you're on a motorbike, and you have to deliver pizza before the rival does, and the time runs out. Before the rival does. That's the whole thing. So it's sort of part Crazy Taxi.
Yeah.
It's part Road Rash. I mean, I love when you get
Absolutely.
your super kicks and things like that. The power up, you could like kick
Yeah.
any vehicle out the way. It's got a lot of tongue in cheek. I mean, I love that one of the deliveries is to like a horror house, and there's zombies and things. There's loads of like shortcuts and secrets, which I'm not very at the moment. I'm not very good at.
Aye.
Because this has only been relatively recently well emulated. It did have a PS1 port, which is very, very good.
I owned this. I still own it.
You still own it? Oh,
Yeah.
that's a great one to have. I adore this game, and I love the music. I mean, the music's like an advert for the pizza company you work for. I'm still not brilliant at it, because to win, I always get to the end in time, but I always get beaten. But to win, you got to learn all the shortcuts, isn't it? There's loads of really good shortcuts in this. I'm still on the learning curve, because until Technoparrot did it, MAME I find a little bit spotty when I've tried it in the past.
Yeah.
But Technoparrot does it perfectly. I mean,
I still think it runs a third-party emulator in the underhood of this.
yes, it is the third party. Yes, yeah.
Yeah, but how it works, what makes it work, I don't care. It works. So
I mean, what's your thoughts of this? And have you got more?
yeah,
history?
I mean, I love it. I've got a history with it. I mean, I've never seen this in the arcades.
No,
I
I'd
don't
love
think,
to
if
see
I
this in the
recall.
world.
Yeah, but it was always a game I was rather fond of on the PS1. Playing the PS1 thing on something like Duck Station with upscaling that, it certainly does improve it. But the arcade version, albeit having that period, as you said, the oldest game on the list tonight, right? It looks off PS1 N64 era, but with fantastic draw distance.
Yeah.
And it's an absolutely fantastic game. It's very blocky. It's very triangular in that way, with very scary masking faces on the characters. But it's pure fun. The highways that you're driving, the scooters on, delivering the pizzas, is just bunker crazy, isn't it? With every turn and every corner in this game is almost 90 degrees. You think it was the old TV show Ottoman, the way the car went round the corners. I love it. I think it's brilliant. Now, here's a point. When you order something on Just Eat, at what point does a rival race you to deliver your pizza or Chinese or Indian?
You're after realism on this game, is that what you're doing?
But I would know. I think this is a selling factor, right? That
We should
if you
do
buy
this,
something on Just Eat, they should do this, and they race to you, and whoever comes first, you get the cheapest pizza. You know what I mean? There's a selling point here, marketability here.
Driving. I do love how like as you're racing through, you see all the pedestrians and that, and they're like running as fast as they can to get out of the way.
Yeah,
So many little
there's a whole vibe, even though it's by a Spanish developer. It oozes that kind of Japanese charm, doesn't it?
But it is like Mediterranean cities.
Oh,
so
yeah, the
it's kind of
locations
cool
are,
as
yeah.
well for that. You feel like you're racing around places like Italy and that. And I half believe I've
absolutely.
seen every time I've gone to like Italy, seeing some of the moped drivers, I could half believe them.
Oh, it's
racing like this,
nuts! Yeah, it captures the driving in the place. But no, it's great arcade fun. Yes, it is the most dated looking game, but that it isn't blocky because it upscales on Technopara and whatnot else, right? It looks like how it looked back then. Yes, there's not the fidelity, but
it still looks gorgeous. Yeah.
oh, it's absolutely brilliant.
Does the PS1 version give any extra things? Or was it just purely the arcade? Do you remember?
I'm trying to think back now. It's been many years since I've played it, to be honest.
No, I must.
But I can't compare. I need to play them side by side and
Yeah, no, I totally
see
get it. Because I know it'll be the PS1 version. I think on the Evercade, you know, that handheld, I'm pretty sure it's on one of their collections. Because they did like a lot of the game. Because they did Big Carmack as well. Was that the one that we covered?
yeah, but big Carmack, great game.
Great game. So no, I adore this game. And if you love Crazy Taxi, it definitely doesn't take itself too seriously. There's loads of cool jumps, loads of secrets to learn with the tracks of how you race.
You need to learn them, or you'll never beat the rival
Yeah,
driver.
I mean, I'm at the point now where I can always finish it, but I've just now and again I beat the driver, but that's because I'm not taking. I've got a terrible memory, and the trouble is I say, "Oh, that was a shortcut," and you're whizzing past it 100 miles an hour, and then the next time I play it, I sort of like forget. But you get the different difficulties, you know. You go and I love how they're sort of like done as mild, and it goes right up to is it Diablo or whatever, you know, like the
Diablo, yeah.
Yeah, so there's a lot of replayability. This is one that I think deserves a sequel. I think if they
A modern day version of this, oh, absolutely.
This would be
I'm with you there.
because I mean it is taking inspiration from Crazy Taxi, but and things like Road Rash, but it's enough variety here to stand on its own, and it's a great concept. I think this is a brilliant idea for a game.
This predates Crazy Taxi, does it not?
No. Does it?
It doesn't.
1998. Yeah, you might be right, actually. When did Crazy Taxi? About the same time. I think Crazy Taxi was 1999 from my head. Let's have a look. Yeah, 1999 Crazy Taxi came out. So, yeah you're right. It predates. So that is insane.
Yeah. And what I love about this is how many games gave you oncoming traffic at this point?
I know. I love how much, and there's quite a lot of traffic.
That changes a racing game.
Yeah, well, and there's a lot of traffic that you're going through.
Oh, it's busy as shit.
Yeah, they're really throwing.
Well, driving today is like that in general, but it's absolutely fantastic.
I mean, this is one that, as I say, it's relatively recently been on Technopara. I mean, you know, not that recent. You know, it wasn't there at the beginning.
Okay.
And like, I'm starting to appreciate how wonderful this game is. I keep sort of like playing it, but this for me has been a real joy and one that I keep wanting to go back to because I want to learn all those shortcuts because I know that's the answer.
Well, you get a whole percentage thing on how many shortcuts you find because, and that drives you insane when you complete a level and it tells you you've missed certain things. It's like, right, I'm going to go. I wish there was just a quick replay that level button because I was shit at it, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Going progression that way. I want to keep doing that level on my coin.
It's quite disheartening, isn't it? When you get there and you're like, oh, I didn't deliver the pizza in time. You get that big X on the pizza, but you still effectively got to the end of the track, as it were.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think a lot of our listeners might not even know this because it didn't. I've never seen it in the wild, and I mean, they might know it from the PS1 port, but then the PS1 port, you know, maybe if you're not didn't have it back in the day, you know, I imagine it looks a little even blocky.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to get a lot of bloody games for the PS1 back in the time. I mean, it was probably my biggest collection beyond the ZX Spectrum, to be honest.
Yeah, no, it's great.
Well, no, that's a lie. My Steam collection now is insane, but ignoring the digital era.
Physical releases.
Yeah, for physical, the PS1 was by far the most accessible.
Yeah.
Get yourself and fine. Until she heads, it doesn't matter now. It doesn't matter anymore. No need to feel it any longer. No need to feel it any longer. 'Cause I will make it right for you. I'm living underground, so I guess how should I sing? That keeping my way could be right. I'm living for the sound, so I guess how should I sing? That keeping my way.
So, shall we go on to the next game? I appreciate we've got those.
What we got, mate?
So the next
What's
game
next?
is Sega Race TV. So this is one that I think
Ooh.
a lot of people won't have known. And fact fans, this came out in 2008. It is done by M2 and Sega, and it admittedly he was only on as a consultant. But Yu Suzuki, this was the last AM2 game and racing game that he ever worked on. And what is it? So Sega Race TV, I think the concept is it's basically like a TV show. So you get real-time commentary. And the idea is you have to get first. That's basically it. Lots of wild characters, a nice range of cars. Feels a little... It's not quite as... mad the characters as you get in Outlanders, unfortunately, but I always choose. I don't know who do you choose. I always choose the one that looks like Hulk Hogan with the American flag glasses.
I did choose the same one. Yeah,
he's my favourite. But I mean, there's a load of really cool characters. But it's just fun, standard racing fare. You're using accelerators, isn't it? And there's boosts on the floor, so there's taking little bits of games like F-Zero, isn't it, really, and things like that. But I mean, what do you think of this one? Is this new to you? Or?
Yeah, well, this is new. Yeah, I've never seen this in the wild. To be honest, never even heard of it until you listed it for me here. It's an arena racer.
Yeah.
That's the best way to describe it. And I thought I played this with a bloody marvellous grin on my face. You're right, it's F-Zero with cars. And it's
the blue
fantastic
sky
play.
racer. It's the typical Sega fare and stuff.
Yeah, it's this mashup of everything that should be good in a racer, and is there. And I think it's I played this probably up there with more than because I was more familiar with most of the other games.
Yeah.
I dedicated a bit more time to this one because it was fresh and it was new, and the commentary is quite intense. It's like a TV show, or almost like if you watch people are into the American national sports in that way. It's just continual barrage of commentary
of course it's
all the way through.
in Japanese, so certainly the version I had. Did you have the English version?
Yeah.
Oh, you had the
got
English version. Oh, so
yeah.
I chose the Japanese because I just love their passion with that.
Oh, talk about generalisations there, mate.
We all
You
watch
gone to me for that.
Banzai.
Yeah.
Bandai! Yeah. But no, this is
But
fun.
no.
I mean, the only thing I would say is it's quite limited in the tracks, isn't it? That's the only thing. But every
They
one's
are
a pure
pretty
joy.
much loops.
Yeah.
They're almost NASCAR loops if you want. But what a great and beautiful game this is.
I'm
And
glad you liked
it's a fresh. No, I do. I absolutely love it. I love the once you get a feel for the track. Every game we played for this episode has different physics. And this one, it's not hard to come in first.
Yeah.
Once you get the hang of it and learn the tracks, know where the boosts are, know where the, it's a memory game more than anything else. But it does. I don't know why, but aesthetically, from seeing because they're all open top cars, it took me back to Porsche Challenge.
Yes,
on
I
the
can
PS1.
get what you're saying with that, yeah. Yeah, because a lot of the cars are very similar to the look.
Porsche Boxster
Yeah,
looking
Porsche
esque
Boxster.
cars, yeah. I mean, there's silly things going on beyond that. It's pure arcade, and it's absolutely beautiful. I'd never even heard of this in my
It
life.
didn't seem to do very well. I don't
That's a
know
shame.
what it is.
I would love to play this in arcade.
Yeah, I would love to. This is one I would love that you could get at home. I would love if you could. I mean, now it's been sorted, but I guess when you played it on your version, it was full screen, was it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because for the longest time, this wasn't full screen. You had to lower the resolution.
Oh, really? Okay.
Technoparrot guys have sorted it, but I learnt so much about borderless gaming and things like that to make it full screen, because I was desperate to. Even before this was available, I've always been desperate to play this game because I knew it was Yu Suzuki's last hurrah.
Well, put it this way. Here's a question for you: if you were brought into this, no pun intended, blindfolded, knew nothing about it, right?
Yeah.
And you fired this up, would you feel that you would go, Sega made this?
Yes, personally.
Exactly, yes.
Yeah.
That's the point.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, and that's the thing, there's so many wonderful Sega racing games that, I mean, some...
They make the best racing games,
They
mate.
do, but they never bring them, I mean, the amount of ones that have never had a home port, like Scud Race, I mean, you could list them,
Yeah.
Even... Radmobile. Yes, you had Gale Racer, which was Radmobile on the Saturn, but it wasn't very good port.
Yeah.
Why have we not seen? I mean, this is why I was so. I mean, going slightly off topic, but with all the shenanigans with Xbox trying to get Activision.
Yeah.
And I think they will. I mean, I've been following the case.
It's going to happen eventually.
It's going to happen. FTC really embarrassed themselves. And Jim Ryan, who's head of Sony, called himself lying through his emails to what he was saying. But that aside, I kind of wish they didn't win the Activision, because I want them, and it did come through the depositions and things in the documents, that they are trying, even now, Xbox, to buy Sega. And I would love that, personally, because Sega, I know they've got their football managers and Total War and things, but they've just done nothing with their back catalogue. I mean, why is it we can buy Capcom arcade collections, even Taito, they're being a bit stingy, but they're on their Taito milestones. Why is it Sega never do arcade packs in the home? I know you could buy that Astro City Mini that had the arcade games, but I don't want to buy a little shitty device. Oh, sorry, it's not shitty, but you know what I mean. I don't want to play it through a small screen connected. Why? I've got a perfectly good console. Just let me play them damn games legitimately. So sorry, bit of a
I'm
rant,
with you,
but
mate. I'm
that's,
with you.
Yeah. But this is a great game. It's a lot of fun. I might go through the dip settings and see if I can make it the English version, because I've not actually.
Yeah, I need to faff, because the version I had, and comparing it with YouTube streams, they're playing high fidelity, so it could be just in any settings. It's the resolution's set at, well, to be honest, when this came out, the default wasn't even 1080, so I need to see if I can upscale it, and because it was just a bit off and a bit more blocky in comparison, but from YouTube
still
streams,
a lot of fun though, isn't it?
it's incredible. Sega fans will absolutely love this. Absolutely love this.
So talking of Sega fans, should we go on to the next one?
Yes, please. this game is.
This is another Sega game, also came out in 2008, and it is Sega Rally 3. This is, so it might be different to the one you were thinking. I don't know if it
No,
was.
this is it.
No, this is
This
the one
is
you were thinking. Okay,
Yeah.
this is fantastic.
Mate,
So-
I've got the same running orders, yeah, of course it is.
Oh, okay. I didn't know whether. Yeah. I might change them round just to.
We
just to
no,
just
we
keep
are
you on your
professional.
toes.
We are a professional podcast, mate.
Are we?
We discuss it apparently beforehand.
But no, this is says Sega Rally 3
Yeah.
is absolutely awesome update. Now, bizarrely, it's done by the Sega Racing Studio and Sega Europa R. So bizarrely, this Sega Rally did not come in the Japanese market. I find it amazing because it's so popular here, isn't it? This is one you always see in the arcades,
Absolutely.
and it's a really good Sega Rally update. It's only got, well, there's 3 tracks and a bonus track, and there's also like you can play the classic mode, which is like a recreation of the desert 1995, the Sega Rally desert track. But it handles beautifully, doesn't it? It looks gorgeous. It's just so much fun sort of playing through and drifting around the corners. It does everything that you would want from a Sega Rally game. Interestingly, this did have a digital port called Sega Rally Online, wasn't it? It was called I think that's what it was called. Sega Rally Online Arcade, which came out in 2011, and that came out on the Xbox 360 and PS3. Sadly, I don't think you can get game because of licensing. You can't buy it now, which is such a shame.
Yeah.
Which is why things like Technoparrot is just so important, because it just gives you access to these games. Because although I own, I bought them back in the day, I own it on 360. It's still a bit of a pain, like dusting off. Well, I don't dust off because I use my 360 quite a bit actually. But I mean, for a lot of people, they don't want to have old consoles necessarily. They haven't got the space to add all the older consoles as well. So it's a bit of a pain. I mean, what do you think of this game?
Yeah, I mean, it was in my arcades. It's not there now, and I used to love going playing it. It just looked so bloody beautiful. Do you know, it's actually 10 years between Sega Rally 2 and 3.
Yes, yeah.
That's a length of time.
It's amazing.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
But in a way, that's a good thing. They waited till the time was right to get the technology better, to make it more, visually and physically better. It's an absolute fantastic. I mean, this is on the cusp of you and I going, is it getting a bit too technical? You know what I mean, in terms of real physics, but it still has that arcade vibe.
Oh, it's definitely arcade. I mean, I don't find it too technical at all. I'd definitely put this squarely as an arcade racer.
Yeah.
It's just fun. It's got the fun. The only thing that's frustrating, I mean, one of the nice things with Technoparrot is at least you're not paying the money, because when you fail at a track, you can start that track that you. So once you've beaten the track, you've beaten it for that play session.
Yes.
But the first 2 I can go through in a breeze. That's not a problem. But the Alpine track, which is the 3rd one, because I'm desperate to see, to play it for myself. I know I can go on YouTube and see, but I'm desperate to see the bonus track that you get if you get first on the Alpine track.
I'm not that
can I
good
do
enough.
it? Yeah, I can't even finish the Alpine track. I don't know about you. Can you finish
No.
the Alpine track?
I have an issue with snow levels in every other game, whether it be a platform game, whether it be, the minute there's a different physics because bloody snow exists, I'm shit. Ice levels, ban them. Apart from Fire and Ice. Fire and Ice is lovely for ice levels, but everything else is awful. No, this game still doesn't let you forget it's an arcade game. There's visual splendours throughout, where there's viaducts with trains going overhead or whatnot else. It's just
every level's just like so full of interest.
Yeah, it's an eye candy racing game, despite the seriousness of rally racing. There's no spectators, like in the console versions where you can run over and you want to kill them. I mean, it's a dangerous sport, I mean,
Yeah, exactly.
screw standing on the sidelines, but it's exhilarating and it's beautiful. It is. I think racing games, we've got to a point in racing games at the moment, as we covered the evolution of them.
Yeah.
They've not improved. What's happened, right? Why have we got to this point where arcade racing is not? As you said, they've moved away from it. We've not used current gen to.
Well, the trouble is, I mean, when we get to some of the honourable mentions, there's some amazing and very, very cheap arcade racers that you can buy, but nobody buys them. I mean, a good example actually is that we mentioned before, Cruising Blast.
Yeah.
I mean, Raw Thrill said if they made enough money, if they made good money on Cruising Blast, which was, they did bring to the Switch. I don't know if it. I don't know. Did they bring it to the PS4, PS5?
Couldn't tell you because I haven't searched for it, mate. Sorry.
No, but on the Switch they didn't bring it to the Xbox, annoyingly. But on the Switch, it's beautiful. I loved it enough that I bought Charlie one. And I've got it as well.
Hi, Charlie.
Yeah, hi, Charlie. And it's just fantastic to play. It's a really, really good version. But sales numbers, it bombed really. People just, for whatever reason. I think part of it is because people think, because it's not like your Gran Turismos or Forza, where people think just because that's got hundreds of cars and an open world, therefore it's worth the money.
Okay.
But Cruising Blast, it was it was like a 30 quid game. It wasn't like a 70 quid game. And you can get them in the sale. But it's just sad that clearly there isn't the love, and it doesn't help that a lot of the reviewers also bemoan. I mean, like one of the games we'll get to the honourable mention. Well, I might as well say Rise Race to the Future, which I think is an amazing game, and it's currently in sale. Even at full price, it's like 8 quid. And I think it was like on Steam, because it's only on PC and Switch. On Steam, it was like 4 quid, wasn't it, in the sale?
Oh, it's ridiculous.
And when I picked it up on Switch in the sale, it was like 2 quid. It was ridiculously cheap. But
what an age to be alive, mate.
But isn't it sad that these games just aren't hitting the zeitgeist with people? And yet you go to an arcade club, like Arcade Club, or you go to like any arcade, and people be lined up around the block playing all the sit-down races. It's just
they're the most
strange.
busiest machines where you have to queue, and because of Henhouse Pete permanently sitting on Ridge Racer, no one else can get a shot. Sorry,
You're very
Pete.
bitter with that, aren't you?
That man is an obsessed man, right?
Yeah.
He was in my nemesis on the Manic Miner looping competition.
Yeah.
He is an obsessed person, right? I will say that now.
Is there any more you want to say about Sega Rally?
No, I mean, the Sega Rally takes you to a different kind of racing game, and you expect an alpine track and a desert track, a jungle track. You know what you have to expect in that. But I think they peaked. They certainly peaked with that version, and it is a good arcade game. And when I do see it, I mean, it was in my own local amusements for many years, and I would go down there with even my son, and let's put a coin in this and play it, and it still gives you that vibe, and it's timeless.
Yeah,
That's the point.
Awesome. I love this one. It just plays so well. Now, so we're talking about great racers, and I'll pass it to you this week because I think it's a real fond one with you. What did you think of Storm Racer G 2015?
Mate, right, I want to know this from Technoparrot. I've never seen this in the wild, right?
Same with
But
me.
this is the best arcade racer from our complete selections.
Yeah.
This, I love this, right? So this is more supercar racing, listeners, right? Rather than just, you know, your Ford Capris or your Focuses or, you know, your Subarus and whatever. It's just high performance cars. But this is the most visually impressive arcade racing game I've ever played in my entire life. Would you agree with that, Paul?
Yeah, I mean it is. It's the music. I mean it's
Yeah,
nice.
yeah. The music in this is great, right? For once, it's incredible.
Yeah, yeah. And it's really sort of bizarre. It's like developed by a Chinese developer. You can't find a lot about it. But
Wall-up technology.
Wall-up technology, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's published by Sega.
Mm-hmm.
But and I did see it on that like Liberty Arcades. You could actually buy it. It was something like 20.
Oh, can you? Right, okay.
20,000. There was another one that was like 20,000 or something.
Right,
So,
okay.
so you know, if anybody wants to buy me a Christmas present.
Please select your car.
But yeah, it's a great.
Yeah,
game,
I mean,
isn't it?
it offers that kind of high-speed arcade racing with the emphasis on sort of that kind of adrenaline-fueled action, doesn't it? Yeah. So it's all about high-performance supercars navigating through various tracks, the usual twists and turns. But seriously, when you hit that turbo boost, my God, your eyeballs melt.
It's got a great sort of blurring effect, isn't it?
Yeah. Not overly blurring. It
just gives you that incredible sense of speed.
yeah,
Really good.
it's
which is what they kind of do. With, you know, this is the closest to Ridge Race.
Yes.
Follow on from Ridge Race. This is what Ridge Racer 8 should have been. That's what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
Not that bloody unbounded. No, this is great, isn't it? It's got massive tracks, amazing music, genuinely fun game.
yeah, the location's
Seven
great.
tracks, isn't it?
Yeah.
Nice location.
Yeah, we have what? I mean, we've got the usual urban tracks. I'm trying to think what else we
When I say seven tracks,
Social.
actually, of course, it unlocks the track. But it's, yeah, just awesome.
Yeah, but what I like about this most, right, is that you can use nitro or boost up and win those games very quickly. But the better you drift, the better the energy goes back into your drifts. And that's what makes this game stand out, right? It makes you want to, I'll be the cool kid, I'll drift, get my turbo boost replenished, and boost some more and drift some more.
That's why it reminded me of like Ridge Racer 7.
Yeah.
Because that has that same like history. It works so well. But just the detail and the visual splendour coming out, the variety of the levels, combined with the music. I'm with you. This is a real.
This is the best game of the evening for me. I say evening, which
I
gives
guess
the
'cause it's
listeners a
new.
sense when we record. It started off afternoon, and we're talking too much. It's now the evening. Yeah, no, this is absolutely brilliant. I've went back to this so many times now. And just fell in love with it.
I'm glad you love it as much as me, because you know when you're looking at like your fully loaded list, it's an easy one to sort of like skip over, isn't it? Because you just
Well, absolutely.
you don't know it, you know you're out there. They're the ones you go to. But this is I get why it's your favourite because it's new.
Yeah, but I've given it serious time, mate. Right?
Yeah.
And I can be so glib and say it's my favourite, but the handling feels absolutely fun. I mean, I say it's my favourite. Outrun 2 will never be beaten.
Yes.
Right. But we have to put that on a pedestal. It's separate.
Yeah.
For here, for something new, why does it outperform the other games? Because the track selection is
It's just it
Absolutely.
is a true old school racer. It's got great design tracks.
Yeah.
I love the fact that it's got really good mixed music. I was quite surprised it's done by a Chinese company, not for any other reason that it felt quite European with the music and everything. You know, I thought.
Good.
Yeah.
That's what makes me happy because I don't like the Euro trance, and the music's fantastic in this.
Yeah, it really goes and really sort of drives the game. This is one that I would love to see in an arcade club. I'd love to play it on a real hard, real sit.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
This would be amazing.
Yeah, and it's one that takes the photographs of the
Yes.
face of the players, and therefore their avatar hovers over the cars when you're playing it, and link up mode. I mean, arcade club can't do this. I mean, they can't buy 8 off that machine, 2 at a maximum, right? And I mean, me and you and Outrun too, and we go there, and it's just such fun. I punch you to try to put you off your game, but you're hardened man. Nothing will
I'm
put
used
you
to
off.
being hit by the wife. That's why.
Exactly that, So, yeah, it's just
Fantastic.
beautiful.
Well, I'm glad you like that one, and as I say, I urge our listeners to. I'll be uploading. So what I plan to do is do the video combined, but also as separate videos as part of our Let's Play. Also do like the full recordings of both Kingy and me.
Yeah,
I
it'll be
think
fun.
that's good. So it's
Yeah.
good for everybody. And this is a fantastic one to try, and one that I really think should be in the home to be able to play legitimately. Talking about games that I wish was in the home to play legitimately. I guess the Wii version kind of had it, but it is Fast and the Furious Supercars.
Supercars.
Yeah. So basically, they sort of went away from the original film license a little bit, but this is the reason I chose this over Fast and the Furious, because there's a whole range of. There's a Fast and Furious game, there was Drift, and then, but Supercars, basically they just built on it in each time. And Supercars is the end of that run. It's got like 27 tracks, and I don't know, it's got all the cheese. If you love your cruising game, which is basically what this is.
And scantily clad ladies dancing, obviously full capture motion of them.
I know, it look a lot better than they did in cruising.
Was that cruising Birmingham, mate?
Oh God, no, you wouldn't get sexy women in. Not with
Listen,
that.
cruising Fife would look shit, right? toothless babes that have 10 babies to 10 different men. That's what cruising Fife would look like.
But this is and now, to be honest, a lot of the tracks you can play if you don't have like Technoparrot. The Wii version of they just called it Cruising was basically a remake of Fast and Furious, but it had a lot of a couple of the extra tracks as well. And so you'll be able to play. The trouble is on the Wii version, it's better if you've got a Wii U because it will actually speed it up a bit. But it really couldn't. The hardware couldn't cope with what they were trying to put on the screen. So I'm really thankful for the Technoparrot versions. You can hit the odd glitch here and there with these games, unfortunately, on the emulator. But for the most part, it's absolutely flawless, particularly with Supercars. I mean, what do you think of it with this one?
Yeah, I mean, I struggled for many tracks I randomly tried where it wouldn't leave the start point. I don't know what's going on.
Was that on this one, not
Yeah.
Superbikes? Oh, okay.
No, Superbikes was fine. It was this. I had
So
a
for me,
ball
it was
ache.
the opposite. This was fine, but Superbikes 2, which spoiler alert is one of the games, that'll be our next game. Yeah, I found that I had that where it just like you get to the start line, it would just freeze and you couldn't.
Everybody would be dancing, all the entourage at the line with yeah, it just couldn't leave the start line. But a couple of tracks I tried, so I couldn't try all the tracks. It pisses me off. It was like really getting me angry, to be honest.
Yeah, because you're like, I want to play.
Yeah. But for what I played, this is great.
Oh, I love it. I mean,
yeah,
this is one that I've seen in the arcades. I always make a beeline for it. I mean, I've loved the Fast and Furious. I love all Raw Thrills. If I see Raw Thrills on it, I'm going to play it in the arcades because for me, they're the only company that's really keeping the old
school driving vibe alive. Yeah,
alive. I suppose Sega has, but even Sega's gone away from it. But yeah, no, I adore this. And
how great though is it when you get the turbo boost and the cars actually do a wheelie? Name any game that's done that since the Dukes of Hazzard on the ZX Spectrum.
Well, yeah, I guess the cruising games used to do the thing with the wheelies and things, isn't it?
I forgot that, yeah.
Yeah, I mean...
No, I'm going back to the Dukes of Hazzard and the ZX Spectrum.
This is basically cruising in all but name. You know, the Fast and Furious was just their...
License. You don't
yeah.
blame them for doing so.
No, 100%. And that's why, you know, on the Wii they just called it cruising and to be honest, you know, although it's different tracks, if you play Cruising Blast on the Switch or certainly it's on the Switch. I don't know if it's not on the Xbox, unfortunately, and I don't have a Sony, so I've not really looked. But I think on the Switch it plays brilliantly, and it's a lot of you'll recognise a lot of the tracks and things on that version. So there are ways of playing it at the home. But yeah, this is just fun. It's got huge jumps. You got the skill of using your boost at the right time because you got like 3 boosts, haven't you? Yeah. And I adore it. I adore it.
Superbikes.
So, yeah, Superbikes. So, Superbikes 2 is what we chose because you didn't have your fully loaded was not fully loaded, was it? It didn't have Superbikes 1.
It did not.
No, but for me, with Superbikes 2, to be honest, I understand why, because Superbikes 2, which came out in 2010, also Raw Thrills, this essentially just it's like the last game, but on bikes, isn't it? It's got all the madcap racing, but different tracks. And what's great with Superbikes 2 is you have all the tracks of Superbikes 1 and a whole new suite of Superbike tracks for 2. I'm going to pass it to you. What did you think of this one?
Yeah, this was in the Odeon cinema.
Ah, lucky
for
you,
me.
Yeah.
So when I left the movie, especially at the informative years of my lad, we would leave the cinema. He would see this game and we'd sit together because he didn't have because you had to sit in the bike to play the bloody thing. So I have played this in the wild and it's ultra realistic. It's great. You know what? It's nice to have a motorbike change for a racing game because 99% of racing games are, you can say hang on, you can say enduro racer, right? But most games are about cars. Motorbikes don't have as much, attention. This is just an absolutely fantastic game. And the best thing is you can't do it in a car. When you go off leaps in a motorbike, you can do little show-off stunts.
Yeah.
Hang on the handlebars, swing to the side, whatever else. And this game has it. It's a bit, you go to planetary locations, it gets a bit stupid, to be honest.
But that's what Cruising Exotica and the series does.
Fair point.
And I love the fact that some of the characters, like you can play somebody who clearly is Arnold Schwarzenegger on the motorbike. There's like a Tron bike, isn't there?
Yeah.
And things like that. I'm surprised I haven't got and you got like your chopper bikes and all. There's a whole range, but it just so much variety. There is shortcuts. You can find better ways of going through the path. You're right with the stunts and things. That's kind of like cool. You can get extra boost through doing a stunt in the air. Yeah, no, I really, really love this, and do play it in the. Every time I see it in the arcades, I try and play it. It's just very seldom I get the opportunity to sort of play them. But I do wonder why does Arcade Club not have these Raw Thrill games? Because it would be the icing on the cake, wouldn't it?
Probably too expensive to bloody purchase. That's the point.
I don't know. They bought that weird Mission Impossible one. That's
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah.
I mean, if they got rid of that Mission Impossible one, which I don't think is a good game, and
That's
got rid
shit.
of-
That takes up so much real estate. It's ridiculous.
and also I don't like they got the Luigi Mansion. That's not a very good arcade game.
No, it's not.
So they get rid of all of that, and then they put in the games I want, because that's all I care about.
Yeah. But here's the
about
point,
me.
though. Who cares? You know, in terms of cars and aesthetics, people quite like a licensed car. Okay, whether it be Ferrari, whether it be Porsche, whether it be I don't know, a Peugeot or a who gives a shit, right?
Yeah, exactly. You
But
don't need it all.
motorbikes. Do you care about licensing of motorbikes? They're a bit skinny, and where you have, but this game it's licensed motorbikes. Whether it be Kawasaki, Yamaha, Honda, Suzuki, right? It's like you just see the arsehole of the guy staring at you. Does it really matter? Is there something?
But that's why I always choose the women races. If you're going to be staring at an arse, you want
exactly,
a woman's arse.
mate.
Yeah.
Like, no, that's a good question to put it to listeners. Is it as important to put a licensed motorbike game as it is much a car game? I don't know.
I think
I couldn't care.
Do you know? Normally, I don't care. The only time I do care is like with Outrun. And I guess that's because Outrun just means Ferrari, isn't it? It's just like going into it.
for sure.
But like when we come to like certainly all of these like toy box physics and same with like the Wagan Midnight Racing that we're going to come up to.
Yeah.
They don't need licensing. It'll be just as good. In fact, I mean, sorry, just as a slight aside, but with the Wagan Midnight Racing 6, which is the one we're going to cover in the long-running series, actually, because it starts including things like Lamborghini and things.
Yeah.
But when I chose, because originally I was like, oh, cool, Lamborghini Countach, but it doesn't make sense in the game. Because the idea you've got like a NAF car, and you build up, not the car, but just you through tuning and things to make it a better car. It doesn't make sense when you're up against like a Nissan Bluebird and you're in a blooming top of the range supercar that you can't catch up with them.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, so should we go on that note? Is there any more you want to say on Superbikes 2 before?
No, I mean, I think most people probably been exposed to this series more than other games. You know what I mean? Because it was one of these
was
ones that
everywhere,
just
wasn't
appears.
it?
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
everywhere. Yeah.
But yeah, this is why. I mean, can you imagine like a collection, or even if they did individual releases, even if it was just digital? Like, there's just so many great games. Superbikes 2, you could easily drop the licenses.
Yeah.
Supercars, you could easily drop the license. You don't need to call it like
Just
Fast and
make up
Furious.
some bloody vehicles.
Yeah. I mean, a bike's a bike, and they have, haven't they? I mean, I'm sure that Tron-looking bike with like RoboCop type character sat on it doesn't.
Yeah,
exist
nobody's
in the
made
world.
that.
Yeah, so yeah, I totally agree. come up to our final main game, and then, obviously because I needed the pun of the Racers Dozen, we will include the final two after this, but they were
please.
more honourable mentions really. So the final main game that we're going to cover is I can never say it. Wagan Midnight Maximum Tune 6. They do like their long names, don't they, the Japanese?
Yes, they do.
Now this is a long-running series. Arcade Club had for a time the third in the series, and they had the Maximum Tune Plus DX, whatever it was called, and that was awesome. But they basically they've retold the same story in the tracks, but with better graphics and adding more cars and things. So the last in the series on Technoparent, I think it's the last in the series they've done, is 6R of that version. And what is it? How can you describe Wagan Midnight Racing? It's basically a visual novel meets a really good arcade racer. It's done by Namco, and the idea is you're a bit like with Initial D. You're racing.
Yeah, same concept.
Yeah, but you can feel the mechanics under the hood to tell the story, isn't it? You know, okay, they always come whizzing. You could be doing the perfect race and using all the drift of, because there's like a yellow. All the other cars are like yellow Namco themed cars, isn't it? So you see Pac-Man trucks and things like that, which is quite cool, because it sort of differentiates from the ones you're really.
It's all yellow. Everything's yellow apart from you.
Yeah, well, the rival racers are in all sorts of different colours, but I get why they've done that, because it makes it easier to know. Okay, this is somebody that I really need to pass. But it makes a real play on slipstreaming. So you get behind the truck or whatever, and your wheel notice to get faster. But you do feel the strings that behind the scenes are being pulled. You know, you can always guarantee, no matter, even if you're doing the perfect race, that the other racer will just zoom past you like it was nothing, and then a little bit later they will. You'll zoom past them.
Yeah, there's a cinematic vibe to the game. Yeah,
but it is good, and of course you can English patch it so you can sort of see the story, and you know it goes through just all the other racers talking about a variety of things. I mean, but you don't need, in Japanese it's perfectly fine as well, isn't it?
You get the gist.
Yeah. I mean, what do you think of this game?
Yeah, this is wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. You know what I like better is nighttime tracks rather than the daytime tracks. There's quite a lot of them. Yeah. And you just get a vibe of the wee hours of the morning and proper illegal street racing. And these Japanese games, they're not capturing like Outrun of the typical, West Coast American driving. It is very specifically Japanese, isn't it? And it's a good it's very unique, and takes you to the industrial areas and the metropolises and all that. It's beautiful. It's tourism for us.
Yeah, exactly. It just feels wonderfully unique, and it is, it plays brilliantly. And again, this is one that you don't really need licensed cars, like we mentioned.
No, not at all. Yeah.
You could easily strip the license away, and it would be a fun game. But and it's got like this. I mean, I unfortunately I couldn't. I sort of played through in the Japanese one because it kept on crashing the English patch version. So I had no real idea what was going on, but there was like crying women holding a baby, and I get the general gist. Says that there was a Bluebird car and there was a nasty driver that killed her brother, and I don't know, typical sort of like Japanese storytelling, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sort of deep, making it very deep and meaningful. But all of that could go hang as far as I'm concerned. It's just a fun racer, but I do like the idea of little pop-ups of the other characters, like telling the story.
Yeah,
because the way they do it doesn't really bother you too much, even if it's like.
Not at all. There's a lot of discussion between when you're having one-on-one racing through the whatever areas you are, and the rival characters are having their dialogue, and it'd be interesting. I mean, I would like to see an English version of this and put the patch in and make it work, because you know.
Yeah,
You want
I
to
don't
feel
know
the-
what I did wrong with it, because I can see again on YouTube that people have got the patch working all the way through. So maybe it was just the patch that I downloaded.
Oh, we're just shit. That's
Yeah, I
the
think that's
reality,
basically
mate.
the reality. We need our listeners to tell us what to do, because they're
Yeah.
smarter than us.
Yeah,
They be smarter than us.
absolutely.
But yeah, no, it's really, really fun. I mean, the only difference you'll really notice between 6 to 3, which was one in Arcade Club, sadly not there anymore, is different music, and it's but mostly it's just higher fidelity, isn't it, in the graphics?
Yeah, it still has that Ridge Racer vibe to it, though. I would say that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's
no, I love it.
cityscapes
And of course, the big selling point for me, and particularly when you're playing it in the arcade, because they've got real meaty sound system pumping out the music, is Yuzo Koshiro. Of course, he's the guy that did Streets of Rage music and a whole host of fantastic music. He does all the music for this, the whole series, and his
It's all shite.
you don't like the Euro pop?
Nah, it's shite.
Yeah, no, I love his music, and don't listen to Kingy.
Nah, listen to me, mate. Listen to me.
So you're saying Yuzo Koshiro does not do good music?
No, he doesn't.
Oh. So you don't like the music in Streets of Rage?
Don't. It's wank.
It's because
I
you
do.
never had a Mega Drive. That's the thing. You're just
There
you're
it
playing
comes,
your
there it comes.
snares. You little snares fanboy. Give it up. No, but this is a lot of fun. It plays brilliantly. I was really gutted because I was playing the recording of this, and I got completely addicted. What was supposed to be like just playing it a little bit, I ended up playing all the way through. And because I also love the one thing we haven't mentioned is for me, this is what, if you're going to upgrade your car, this is be as complex as it should be. It gives you a choice between power and handling. and you know, because it's me, I go as far as I can with power, and then it won't let you get any further, and then I do all the handling. You know, and it, I don't know, shows you whatever gizmo does that particular thing, but you just watch your speed go up, the top maximum speed. Brilliant. But I was gutted, so I was addictedly playing through it, and because my version, it might be different on yours, I couldn't get the card working, so once you end the game, you can't pick up.
Yeah, I've not had any success with
No. So
pseudo save. Yeah.
yeah, but so I was playing through, and I was meeting a mate, and I couldn't couldn't be late because I'd messed him about another time with the thing, and I got right to the last track where you're going to complete the game
Okay.
before I go, and that was only because I decided to meet him via taxi, to go to taxi rather than bus it into town to get there in time, and I fluffed the last level, so I didn't see the final ending, and I have to go. I can't leave it any longer. So annoyingly on the video, and I apologise to everybody, you got the whole game recorded when we do our let's play, but the last level I just got beaten at the end by the rival.
Yeah.
So apologies with that, but I'm sure there's other better gamers out there that probably captured the footage, but I think there's an advantage of not the perfect racing being cracked.
We don't pretend to be that, mate.
Yeah, exactly. But no, I adore this one. It's really, really good.
Yeah, excellent game.
we come to our... Well, these are really more honourable mentions. Well, we'll give more honourable mentions. But, so Wacky Races.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
This is the only Wacky Races game you need to play. Screw Dreamcast, screw the PlayStation 1.
It's a good
This is
version,
this is the game, isn't it?
Yeah, so this is done by Bam Presto. It came out in 2008. It's a really good version, isn't it? I mean, I still love the Dreamcast version.
Oh, I do, absolutely.
But this is really good. One of the nice things, you can play Dick Dastardly and Muttley right off the bat. I love some of the attack modes, isn't it? Rather, like if you've got like rather than do a shield round you or where you can attack the enemies, you've got like if you play Dick Dastardly, Muttley goes out on a little basket, isn't it, and spins around the car, sort of bashing the people. It's a lot of fun. It's got 11, sort of like, it's got all the characters. You've got a nice range of things. It goes straight into the action, which is what you want. The idea is you pick up the coins as you race, very much like the Dreamcast version, and that lets you do your special moves. I mean, I don't know what else you can say with it apart from it's fantastic. And
it captures the cartoon better than any other version. That's the point. It's a complete kart racing game, which is mayhem, fun. The commentary is fantastic. It's just beautiful. It really is the one to play.
Because this is another one I've never.
I've never seen this in a while.
And it looks great, the cabinet, because it's basically the Dick Dastardly machine.
I would love that. I would sit in it all day, mate.
See, Arcade Club, you need to put the games. You need to do the games we want. We're selfish. This is really, really good. I'm so glad that Technopower. This was another that it runs a lot better than it did initially. For the longest time, I couldn't get it full screen, and I went through a lot of hoops to get it full screen. So that's awesome. Game I was going to mention before we get to the true honourable mentions, just brief mentions for us, is Dead Heat 2011. Now, I know Kingy won't have been able to play this.
Nope, can't. Never seen it, so I'm trusting your judgment.
Yeah, so this is one I had actually seen in the arcades before, because they used to have this in Worthing on the pier. Sadly, the last time I went to Worthing, they didn't have it on the pier, and I was very, very sad, because I always used to make a beeline to it. It came out in 2011. It's done by Namco, and it's just like the other sort of like races. Really, it's a bit like cruising. It takes your photo at the beginning. It's just fun, really, and I highly recommend it. Now, one of the things that I have signed up to the Patreon version of the Technopower, because I love what they're doing and getting these games sort of playable. But this is one game that is available, but they do, particularly when they're working on it and getting it right. This is one game that's only on Patreon at the moment, which is a shame. But yeah, I mean, really, if you played Cruising Blast, you probably play this in effect. It's very, very similar. It's just Namco's version of it, if you like. It's that same sort of mad cat fun. But I definitely, love this, and I recommend it. It's a good racer. So have you got any honourable mentions you want to mention outside of?
Nah, I'm run dry, mate. That's me.
Well, I briefly mentioned a few that I would definitely shout out.
Okay.
So you got Rise Race to the Future, that which you mentioned, is only £4, £8 on full price on Steam. It's really, really good. It's done by the people, bizarrely, that made Jim Powers, the French development team. They worked on, you remember Jim Powers, that old platform game with the great music by Chris Hulsbeck. But it's a great, amazing racer. It needs to be played by more. It's fantastic. And it's amazing that even full price of what they're asking, it's super cheap. Another one likewise is Riptide GP Renegade.
Absolutely, yes, yeah.
Yeah, this is another one sort of like it's sort of arcadey version of wave racing meets Hydro Thunder, and it's just so much fun. And again, you can pick it up for peanuts. I mean, I think currently Steam in the sale, it's like £2 or something.
Yeah.
So it's amazing. The other one that we mentioned, which we absolutely adore, both Kim and me, is Horizon Chase Turbo. That's awesome. That's perfect.
It's great.
Version. Just adore. And last one I'd mention is 80s Overdrive. I love that one. That's it's got a very chill, it's not the greatest arcade game, but it's got amazing music. For me, amazing music. Don't know whether Kingy likes it.
No, the music's fine.
Yeah, you let that one pass. 80s music. It's got a great visual style, and it's not the most exciting game to play, but there's just something about it that you just... this was another one that I recorded, as much as I could, far more than I needed. But I had to literally pull myself away, because I think that time I had to pick up my granddaughter. It was like, okay, I gotta go now. And the last one I'd mention is Slipstream. I think that's a really good racer. I mean, there are probably many more we can do, but these are all amazing. I'll put them in the show notes, because certainly at the time of recording, with the Steam sale, these are really, really cheap. And all of these are like sub par and £10. So many are just like a couple of quid. They're pocket money prices.
Yeah.
So there you go. So any more you want to say before we dive into the follow-up session with Mags and Timeless Gaming?
Yeah, I mean, I think that we can, say arcades no longer exist, and maybe they haven't for the last 10 years now, but for a period we think they didn't exist. There was some predominantly racers. They still existed, and I'm chuffed that we were part of that, and I've seen a good percentage of these games in an arcade, and it's a shame it's become the way it is now, and it saddens me to say that you will only play racer games in an arcade now. That's the point. There's no shoot 'em ups, there's no platform games, there's no anything else. There's racers and there's ticket machines. So I'll take these racers as long as they still exist.
Yeah, I mean, and that's, for me, that's the frustrating thing, is when you think of the amount of indie games that are doing platformers, they're doing shooters, amazing ones. I mean, I don't take anything away, and I love them. But why is there not more people doing for indie? I get your AAAs are never going to do it.
Yeah.
But and why is nobody just rolling up their sleeves and trying to get some of these games like we mentioned and the countless more out there? Try to get them in the home, because as we've said, you could easily strip out the. Well, I say we. There's us saying we could easily strip out their licensing. I'm sure it's quite difficult, but because you've got to redesign the cars and things like that to not look like what they were, like the Nissan or whatever. But I just think they would do. Well, I'd like to think they would do so well, but then you see stories of like Cruising Blast, and you've got to ask, well, maybe we're just off to the side of the mainstream, and there clearly isn't enough of us that loves these types
very
of
possibly
games
yeah
to buy, and really people just want things like Forza Horizon and Forza and those things. But it's sad, because I would love to see more of these games, and that's why I'm so thankful that the people at Techno Parrot, and I see, because I'm on their Patreon, I'm on their Discord, I see how hard they are working behind the scenes to get these games done. Anyway, awesome show. So we'll go into the next section, which is me interviewing Mags all about Timeless Gaming. Have a listen, because I think it's going to be a great event, and I'm quite excited for it. But we'll catch you in a bit.
Do you know who looks sexy in a queue? No one. So why do we do this at gaming conventions all the time? Standing there not knowing where to put your arms and if you're standing weird. I paid money to come to a public place to feel self-conscious. What is wrong with me? Introducing Timeless, the gaming convention for gamers. It's a gaming convention that focuses on what we love the most: playing games. Building our communities, having fun. Wednesday, 16th of August, in Europe's biggest arcade, the Arcade Club in Manchester. With over 300 arcade machines, ranging from futuristic to retro games, a ton of pool tables, air hockey, and pinball machines. You can play to your heart's content. This is a convention too, so there's going to be a wide range of gaming competitions, leading industry legends, panel discussions, and merch stands. And closing the event, coming all the way from Canada, Twitch DJ sensation DJ Mike Storm. So what are you waiting for? Go to timelessgaming.co.uk to get your tickets now. Timeless Gaming. It's never game over.
So, hello everyone, and as part of our episode at RGDS, we've taken the time out to speak to Mags, who wants to tell us all about the Timeless Gaming Convention, which is on Wednesday, is it the 16th of August, is that right?
It is, yeah, on the 16th of August. Not long
Yeah.
ago.
But I guess before we go into the actual event itself, could you just tell us, Mags, a little bit about yourself and the people doing the event, how you've come to do this event in the first place? So
Yeah, sure. So
Yeah.
this is our second year we've done this, and it was reasonably well received last year, so we thought let's do it again. But we've had a bit of a revamp. We listened to the feedback that people gave us, and we're changing a few things. And yeah, so this year it's myself again running it, but also, and for those who don't know me, I'm called Middle-Aged Gamer Guy, but it's such a mouthful to say that it's easy just to call me Mags, so hence that. And an ex-Twitch partner and very dear friend of mine called Amy Eve, and we've kind of combined together to put this second year on at what is, arguably probably the best arcade in the whole of Europe, let alone anywhere else.
Oh,
It's
it
an
is.
amazing
It
venue.
is. Amazing place, isn't it? Of course, the event where it's being held is Arcade Club in Bury, which a lot of our listeners will know about because, of course, we do our meet-up there once a year as well.
Oh,
so
nice,
we'll be meeting
okay.
up in October. But, for those who don't know, it's an amazing... It is the biggest arcade place in Europe.
Yeah.
And it's all free-to-play arcade games. But
Yeah, it's magnificent play. The thing is, it keeps getting bigger because obviously we were there last year, and they said about the fact that we might be extending it, and they did. They put the ground floor in,
Yes.
and then since the ground floor, they've added a VR room, and I know that they're looking to expand again, but I'm not going to say what it is because I'll probably get a slap wrist. Divulging information I'm not supposed to. So,
Yes,
but yeah, I think the place is just going to get bigger and bigger, and you just think, how can it? Because it's huge.
Yeah,
It's huge.
it's an amazing place, and it's a great place to do a venue such as this. So, to give us a sense, and we'll come back to sort of more of what you sort of do on Twitch and things like that. But
Yeah.
for this Timeless Gaming Convention, then, so it's one day, isn't it? And it's
is.
people can buy the tickets.
Yeah.
And so what do you get in this event? What's different from, say, somebody just going to Arcade Club? Obviously, it's not open on a Wednesday. This is
Yeah.
only for the members of this.
Yeah, I think there's two things here. I'm going to say what we're trying to do differently is that you go to a lot of gaming conventions, and I'm not going to mention any names because I do attend those ones, and again, I don't want to fall out with them. But you queue, and you queue for a long time.
Yeah.
And whether it's the new Call of Duty or whether it's a brand new indie game, you still have to queue. And one of the benefits of doing our event, which basically we put a bit of a slant on it this year, because obviously we really focused on the retro last year. But this year we're doing, the reason we've called it Timeless is we are focusing on the best of retro and the modern, and put like a slant on things. So last year we did a Street Fighter 2 competition. This year we're doing a Street Fighter 6 because obviously that's come out.
Yes.
But then we are doing Space Invaders tournament. But then we're doing other new games and old games. So we're celebrating both things. And the thing is, you don't have to queue for any of the games. And this is amazing. You can just go into any of the floors. And for people who love the retro stuff, there's a whole floor dedicated to that on the top floor. We've got a brand new indie game area, which is also going to be in the top floor, just next to the restaurant, curated by the wonderful people at Debug magazine.
Oh, fantastic!
So there's going to be 12 brand new indie games there for you to play. We've got another guy who was at the show last year who made a brand new retro game. He's got another new retro game coming out, so he's going to be there. And you know, there's also obviously Nintendo Switches and newer arcade machines and Xboxes to play. But then it's the fact that you're never going to have to queue. You're not going to have to say, oh, I wanted to try that game, but I waited in the queue for 90 minutes. So that's kind of our priorities, that gaming conventions have got this stigma of you pay for overpriced food and overpriced drinks, and you queue for hours, and you go, oh, how many games did you play? And like 8 hours you were there, and you go like 4. Whereas we can go, right, well, you can buy like 4 meals and buy a round of drinks for like, you know, a very reasonable amount, because the food's very well priced and so is the drinks at the venue. And you would probably get to play, well, if you're good enough, within 12 hours you could probably play a couple of 100 different games in about 12 hours.
Yes,
so that's our big thing. We feel that's what makes us different. And I mean, the other thing is people go, well, I've been to Arcade Club, as you said earlier. So why is it different? Why should I pay an extra £6 more, whatever, to attend the event? Well, it's the fact that, you know, we have got traders at the event to buy stuff from. We've got this indie game area by Debug. We've got the local Geek Retreat from Bury itself. They're back for a second year, and they're doing tabletop board games, card games, everything from Warhammer to Pokemon. And the best bit is, they're not just trying to sell you the games, they will teach you how to play the game. So it's like a try before you buy. So we're taking all different elements. So we are turning it into a mini gaming convention. We've got these competitions live on stage with, as I say, all these new games and these retro games. We've got Q&A panels, talks. And again, rather it just being, hey, we've got some people that worked at, you know, gaming studios from the 80s, 90s and that. We do that. But we also got things that people can learn stuff from. So we've got a talk with numerous different gaming podcasters, talking about how they set up podcasts, why they do podcasting, why they enjoy it, any tips and tricks. Streamers talking about how to be a better streamer. We've got gaming journalists attending the event saying, what's the differences between running a gaming magazine now and 30 years ago?
Oh, awesome.
And so we've got all these different elements. So kind of the extra couple of quid on top of a normal Arcade Club ticket is you get all that chucked in. And we've got a DJ for the after party at 7 o'clock in the evening. Once we get all the competitions out of the way and everything, and we've done the cosplay, because we're inviting people to turn up the cosplay, we're going to have a bit of a party. So we've got a guy flying all the way from Canada who's also a Twitch streamer, but he's a DJ.
Oh, fantastic. Oh, that's going to be amazing, yeah. And of course, I mean, are all the floors going to be open on this day?
Yes, so we open at 10 a.m. for the VIP tickets. Yeah. So people can play whatever game they want for the first hour, just for VIPs. Then we open up to the public at 11 a.m. All floors, 4 floors will be open. The VR room is technically going to be our traders room, so that's the only thing that won't be open. We're using that space for our traders.
Which makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, and it's nice because it's in the first room you walk in, but everything will be on. The second floor, we are shutting half the machines down, even though there's another room on the second floor as well with all the Japanese cabinets, candy cabs. But half the machines that are near the stage, we are going to turn off around about 11:45, because obviously all the stage content and competition starts at 11:45. That runs through to about 7 o'clock. But then we're going to turn all those machines back on for the last 3 hours. But the ground floor, first floor, top floor, everything will be on for for the whole 12 hours of the event, and we're literally only talking a handful of machines like we did last year that won't be working for about that 6 hours that we've got all the content going on.
And they're the right. I mean, to our listeners that have never been to Arcade Club before in Bury, I mean those are the machines you probably would, for retro gamers, care the least about on the second floor.
I would say so.
Yeah.
They are some of them are slightly
rhythm
more
games, isn't it?
Yeah,
Those
rhythm
sort of
action
things.
games, your Guitar Hero, and stuff like that. I mean, there's, I think, between the retro floor and the first floor, there's plenty of other rhythm action games, driving, shooting games, and there's more. And the thing is, they've got quite a few Tekken cabs, but there's that many of them that on the second floor that half of them will be on, and the pinball machines will be on as well. So probably the highlights of the second floor will still be on. So I don't think, for the fact they're not on for a few hours, we never got a slap wrist for that from the people who attended. So
no, I think it's absolutely fine with that. And as you say, you got the other room. There's basically I did a full geeky sort of video looking at all the floors of Arcade Club. So if you wanted to sort of dive in what's on what floor, but I mean, the amount of stuff that just alone, I think. Even putting aside everything you've said, just the idea of actually being able to attend on a Wednesday where it's probably a smaller community than what you would normally get if you went on Saturday or Friday. I think that's worth the extra money because you just have that sort of getting to know the like-minded people of retro events and This is something we've always pushed. We pushed this message out last year that we wanted to bring communities together. So last year we had some guys that flew over from Germany just to attend the event, and this year obviously we got Mike coming over from Canada. We got people flying over from Ireland for the first time, and it's funny because there's a couple of different Irish streamers and content creators who've never even met, but they're flying over to meet at our event, which we feel quite honoured about. And there's people travelling all over from the country, and there was actually friendships made at that event last year where people have got together and now are friends or watch each other's channels or whatever, or watch each other's YouTube videos, and have continued to do that and are looking forward to meeting up again. So it's almost like we've made like a weird kind of reunion thing starts happening, which is lovely. And I think that's the thing that's the thing I love about retro events. It's getting to know everybody, isn't it? Really, sort of like there. And of course, like if you are travelling quite far, one of the good things that you've chosen a Wednesday, because they are open on Thursday, Friday and Saturday. So
that's right,
obviously that won't be your event, but if you wanted to make a bit of a long weekend, you could, if it's a long way for you to go.
This is the thing, that the couple of people that flew over from Germany last year and a couple of people that travelled from like Somerset and that, they made a week of it. I think they travelled up on the Tuesday, which was the day we were setting up.
Yeah.
And we met up with them in town to say hello to them. And then they spent the day at our event, and then they were like, "Oh, we're here till Friday," and I think they went back. They went back. So there's plenty of opportunity. So if you, because I know one girl that, bless her, she literally sat at the front of the stage.
Yeah.
And lapped up all the content that we had, because we had competitions. We had people like Gary Bracey from Ocean Software. We had Adam Sawkins that did all the Burnout games.
Wow.
We did an Ocean Reunion panel, obviously. We had numerous other people. We had Paul McNally, who's coming back. We're doing it in a different role. We had Paul McNally, who, if people are not aware, he was a gaming journalist for 30 years. And he did like Mega Drive Action, Amiga Action, PlayStation Magazine. And we interviewed him, and we interviewed Kim Justice, the YouTuber who loves doing retro stuff. And we've kind of invited some of the guests back. So Paul McNally's coming back, but Paul McNally's actually going to host the journalist panel, because it helps in the fact that he could say the differences between what he's facing and the magazines that we've got that are coming up on there. And bless her, this girl, she literally sat and watched all the panels and all the competitions all day, and then was like, I've hardly played any games. But she was staying there till the end of the week, so I think she went back the next day. And
so you get the best of both.
Yeah,
things.
so she was very happy. Yeah.
Oh, it sounds really good. So you've got different tiers. You mentioned there's like a VIP ticket tier, a standard ticket. So I mean, to our listeners, so these are the types, and then perhaps you can break down what's different. So standard tickets £25.
That's right, yeah.
VIP tickets £50. So
Yeah.
just starting with those two, what's the difference between what do you get for your extra £25? on the
Okay,
VIP?
so with the VIP tickets, you obviously can get in 1 hour earlier than anyone else. So
Yeah.
you can basically get free reign of Arcade Club for a whole hour. So whatever game you were like, I really wanted to play this, you can basically just run to and get to straight away. You get a limited edition goodie bag with our branding on it. Inside the goodie bag, there'll be a couple of things. One of the things that you will get is a free copy of Debug magazine, which is worth £8 alone.
Yeah,
So
great
you get a
magazine.
copy of fantastic magazine. So you'll get that. You get a special lanyard to wear, so everyone will know that you're a VIP. You get your lunch or dinner included. So you get a meal ticket. So if you want a burger, a pizza, nachos, or hot dog, your VIPs hand the ticket over, and you get that for free. So
Fantastic,
you
yeah.
basically get a whole meal for free, courtesy of us. You can get 10% off all our merch because we will have a merch stand. You can even pre-order the merch through our website and then collect it on the day, as some people are doing. And also, you get first picks at the competition. So if you are VIP and we say we want 8 people to do the Space Invaders challenge, if the first few people that put their hands up are VIPs, they will get picked before everybody else. So you've got more likely a chance of winning a competition than you have if you're a standard ticket holder. And we are doing some other little giveaways, not just the main 8 competitions, but there's other things. But VIPs again will have an advantage for
Oh,
that.
fantastic. And also, which I think is lovely, you've got family tickets. That's 2 adults and 2 children. That's between the age of, was it 5 and 17?
Yeah, 5 and 17.
Yeah, and that's for £50. So a whole family
it?
can go for £50, which is lovely.
Yeah. So basically, the children get in for free. Really, you pay for the 2 adult tickets,
Yeah.
and the kids get in for free. You save about £20 on it. It would normally cost you about £70, so you're looking at about a £20 saving on that.
And that's great because to buy a children ticket on its own, I mean, obviously an adult would have
Yeah.
to attend,
Yes, we do say that.
is £10. So that's lovely that you're not like overcharging with it, because that's normally
Yeah.
how they get you, isn't it? On the
Yeah,
kids.
we found that, and we thought long and hard about this because we had quite a few families last year. We only did a standard and VIP, and we kicked ourselves saying we wish we'd done a family ticket last year. So we have done, and it's been well received. And then we thought, well, hang on, are we kind of limiting our demographic here? Because there might be like a mum or dad who just want, I've only got 1 kid, so I don't want to pay for 2 kids, or a family. And so we said, well, a child's ticket is just a tenner. And then that was well received. And then we kind of went, oh, we're kicking ourselves again, because obviously they've got all the baby changing facilities and stuff at Arcade Club now. And we were like, right, so what we've also announced, and we announced a couple of weeks back, is children under 5 get in for free.
Oh, that's lovely. Yeah.
So we want to basically make this as much as a family-friendly event, as much as someone of my age really living their youth kind of thing. So we want to kind of make it the best of both worlds for every demographic, really.
Absolutely, and to our listeners, if you're wondering, well, how am I going to get here? It's actually really quite nice with Bury, because there is parking area if you're driving.
There's a lot of parking.
Yeah,
And it's free.
And it's free parking,
Yeah.
which is awesome. But if you're going by public transport, it's not so bad either, because basically, if you can get to Manchester by train or coach, I often go from Birmingham. I often go via coach because with all the strikes, it's a lot easier.
Of course. Yeah.
And then it's a tram ride, and literally the tram drops you in Bury. It's walking distance to Arcade Club.
Yeah, I think it's about 10 minutes.
Yeah.
To us, which is,
Yeah,
which
about
is
10
good.
minutes, and the nice thing is you feel quite safe walking down. Maybe it's because I'm used to somewhere like Birmingham, but Bury felt a lot safer to me.
I would agree with
Yeah.
that. and I'm based over Birmingham way, so I totally agree with that.
Yeah. And also the place I always stay is you've got Premier Inn,
Yes.
which again is just across the road from the tram stop. You literally can go under, and then you're in. It's nice, clean, cheap accommodation.
Yeah.
That's again within walking distance. I mean, I
Yeah.
always walk to and from the arcade venue. So it's a really, really nice venue with Arcade Club in Bury. It works quite well.
Yeah. Definitely, it's a good choice. It's one of those things that if you blink, you might miss it because you wouldn't know it's there. But once you know it's there, it is funny. We had people who'd I think a group of people who travelled from Oxford last year, and they weren't quite sure how to get there. And we just finished setting up the day before, and as we walked out, they were there like, "Oh, hi!" They were like, "We were just making sure we're in the right place." And we're like, "Yeah, but you're like nearly 16 hours early," but they were quite happy. They were just like, "Well, we know where to come in the morning," so it's like, "Oh, that's cool."
Exactly. And a useful tip as well is just around the corner from Arcade Club there's a truckers cafe diner called
Yes, there is, isn't there?
H Diner and Takeaway, which has just really, really cheap breakfast.
I've forgotten
stuff
about that.
there.
It's really good in there. I can't believe I actually forgot about that.
Yeah,
it's really good. Yeah,
fantastic little place, and it's great because it's literally round the corner. So you could, usually what we always do when we go down there is we fill our boots there, and then when and then you get hungry again when it gets to lunchtime. When it's open. So remind me again, what are the hours that you're actually open on the Wednesday?
So it's 10 a.m. opening for VIPs.
It's nice and early,
Which is nice and early. So because we've had some people say, "Hey, we want to come, but we might not be able to stay until the end." But it means they can at least spend a day there. And obviously, again, with families, they might not want to stay down till 10 o'clock at night because the whole thing wraps up at 10 p.m. So again, for the people are like that, what I call the hardcore gamers, they will probably stay there for the 12 hours, and then the families might say, "Right, okay, all the competitions and stuff are over, the DJ starting, we'll take the kids home now at 7 o'clock, whatever." But if they want to stay, even better, we don't mind. But yes, we're saying 10 a.m. VIPs, 11 a.m. open to everybody else, and it runs straight through all the way till 10 o'clock at night. The traders will be open until about 6 or 7. Obviously all the main stage content's from midday until about 7 o'clock, and the indie game area also, and the tabletop and board game area, that'll probably run until about 7 o'clock as well.
Oh, that's wonderful. And you say all those arcade machines, I mean, that alone is worth your time. And of course the nice thing about Arcade Club and again, mentioning the names of some of the other sort of events out there. The machines are well looked after.
They are, and they work. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. Because there's nothing more frustrating than you go up to a machine you haven't seen for ages, and you're like, "Oh," and then you realise the controller's knackered. You can't play it.
I went to an event, again, I'm not going to say where it is because I do enjoy that event, but I went to an event in London last year. They had a big retro area, and it was so disappointing that over 50% of the machines did not work, and there seemed to be no one there looking after it, and that was a big disappointment for me, I have to say. I don't know whether it was a lack of staff or maybe they just I don't know. It just seemed.
I think they just seem to they cycle out the same ones, don't they? I mean, that's what I've seen because. An event I went to, very, very similar to that, where there was some arcade machines I hadn't seen for a long, long time. Like Confidential Mission, which is the light gun game. Where you play a spy. Right. I was so excited, and then it's like the gun doesn't work, and you're like, oh. But so I know what you're coming from. But the good news for Arcade Club. I mean, obviously machines go wrong, but vast majority are working. And
I'd say last year there was, out of all the, I mean, they've got over 300 plus machines. It's probably closer to 400 now. I think there was one machine not working, and bless them, they've got such a good team now. I mean, I was down there a couple of weeks ago having a meeting. They had a couple of guys on it. They've got a dedicated pinball guy to fix the pinball machines because obviously they're more intricate, and they really do care. And this is the one thing I love. They really do care about all the machines. And they've even got backup machines. And I was speaking to one of the guys, and they said, "Oh yeah, we've got this one machine. We know it can be temperamental. So if it does play up, we could take it away, put it in a warehouse, and wheel out the spare one. So within an hour or so, that machine has been replaced, and nobody knows the difference." I just think that's the difference between that venue and some other places.
Exactly. Yeah, they're genuine caring, and just the fact that all the monitors are absolutely crisp. They've fixed them. I mean, I almost brought to tears every time I see them at the Outrun Deluxe cabinet they got, because it's like. And I remember actually when they first had it, because I've gone to Arcade Club in many years and years ago when it sort of started up, and it was sort of really struggling, the monitor, but they've they, you know, in years gone past, like with all machines, they've replaced all the screens.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, with real CRTs, this isn't like flat screens or anything like that. They've
This is definitely
everything's
put
the
the
real
proper kit in.
deal. Yeah. And it's every time I go back, it's just more and more machines feel right when you play it. They're
I know.
clearly sort of tweaking it.
I think the biggest thing for me is they still never answered the question of how on earth they got that impossible mission machine.
I
through
know.
that door. We've been trying to figure it out, and we keep asking them, and they won't tell us the secret. I would love to know.
I guess it was like Lego. You have to like build.
Yeah,
it up
there must
inside.
have been. Yeah,
Yeah,
they had
yeah.
a little manual and pieced it together.
Well, I'll put in the show notes the link that I did of the whole arcade club, just so people can sort of get a sense. But and obviously I'll put the link in to your wonderful event as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
So
you.
I mean, this is awesome. I'm very excited to sort of hear it. I'm always keen on any retro event that brings the retro community together, because for me that's a big part of it, is to get all these like-minded people together. It's why we do the retro podcast here, and I'm sure that's why you do your Twitch streams, etc.
Yeah, very much so. I kind of bounce between different things, because I think this kind of ties in. I think this is why Amy kind of went, well, this is why we should kind of change it up a bit, because I love to play retro stuff, but I also like to play everything that's new. And it was kind of like, is there actually an event that has an appreciation for both things and brings people together? And this is why we think we might have hit the nail on the head. But yeah, it kind of sums up what I do on Twitch as well. So it's kind of like, well, it all just kind of comes together, really.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about your Twitch channel, because I'll be honest, Twitch is something I've never really got into myself. I don't really follow much on Twitch.
No,
but
that's cool. So I started streaming probably coming up to 3 years ago, and probably the main key thing I'd say that we do is we do a show called TNGC, Tuesday Night Gaming Chat. And we do focus on the new stuff on that. We're basically everything that's happened in the last 7 days. So whether it's any new game releases, but it doesn't matter whether they're indie, if they are new retro versions of games, compilations, and all the big AAA games that are out, and all the gaming news. But we do add elements in there because we get different guests on, whether they be podcasters. Again, we've had Gary Bracey on the show a number of times. In fact, that we did have him on the show one time where he was on the panel for the gaming BAFTAs. And he said, "Oh, I'm glad we talked about that game because it's in my pile that I've got to go through to nominate." So it jogged his memory, which was quite funny. And then we've had numerous other streamers and people from editors from magazines, and just giving their opinion on the games. But we also do other segments. We do a thing called 100 Games to Play Before You Die. And recently, in the last couple of weeks, we've talking about Pac-Man, we've talking about Paperboy, Cannon Fodder, things like that. That some of the newer or younger crowd that watch my show may not even be aware of and think, well, that looks cool, I'd give that a go. I think this time last year, a lot of people that watch my show had never heard of Gallagher, and now they love Gallagher. It's like we've educated them into different games. So that's the main focus on the Tuesday, and then I do a variety of whatever's games that get thrown on my lap. People say, try this, what do you think of this? And I just give honest opinions on them, and I do this full time now. As well as running the gaming convention, I do this. I go to gaming events all over the country, and I'm very honoured to be invited to some as well and get to speak at events as well, which is really nice. But I do this full time now, Monday to Friday, 9 PM on Twitch. There you go. There's a plug if there was ever one.
Wow. Yeah, send us the Twitch links. Obviously, I'll put that in as well for our listeners. No, that's awesome. So, I mean, arcade games, what are you going to make a beeline for when you go to Arcade Club?
Oh, now there's a couple that I'm very fond of. So I've got a massive soft spot for Root Beer Tapper.
Fantastic!
Even though it probably drives me insane the amount of times I've played it, because there's only so far I can get on it. But I'm determined to keep going and get further than like that third stage. I love the original RoboCop.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard as nails, but again, it's on free play, so that does make life a bit easier. But I sunk many 50p coins back in the day, or 20p coins, and that was out. There's just a few others. It's nice to play. I mean, there's some amazing ones. I did try one of the VR games last year that they had on the ground floor, and I just couldn't get my head around how amazing it was. It was a shooter. It was very much like Time Crisis, but obviously with modern day VR. and it was insane. And I think there was a bit where a guy come smashing through the window, and everyone said, "What were you jumping for?" And I was like, "This guy come through the window," and, and everyone was just laughing at me.
It's very immersive, isn't it?
It is. It's very much so. But my heart does lie on that top floor, which is the retro floor. I think alone, I could be there. I mean, I don't get to play many games on the day of the convention because we're so busy organising it and running it. But
of course,
when I have popped down to Arcade Club every so often, you can't pull me away from that top floor. There's nothing else that beats it. To be honest.
No, I adore it. I mean, it was similar for me. I went down with a friend. We because they were open on like the bank holidays often.
Yes, of course.
So I did 4 days there, and we were there open.
Wow.
Open to shut every day because we just loved it. I'll tell you one, because you mentioned Gallagher. Have you ever played Gapless?
No, I haven't.
So a lot of people don't know Gapless. It's actually the sequel to Gallagher.
I didn't
And
know
it's
that.
and they have it there. It's quite a rare one. You don't, wouldn't see it out in the wild very often. But it's got some. One of the cool things is, you know how in sort of like Gallagher they can take your ship.
Yes.
Yeah. With Gapless, if you shoot a certain enemy, you can then use that weapon to capture their ships, and then you're like doing like multiple. It's got lots of. It is the bridge between. You'll see a lot of the ideas that's in Gapless that, of course, ended up in Gallagher '88, which is the next game on, which is also fantastic. But I mean that's what I love. There's so many obscure ones there.
I think I've got a fondness for obviously they've got, because obviously they've got the newer Star Wars pod thing there.
Oh, I love it.
Which is amazing. But then they've got up on the top floor, they've got what was the original Star Wars X-wing thing, where you go down in the trenches, and with all the sort of what was 3D graphics and groundbreaking at the time.
Amazing, with the vectors popping out at you. It's
great, and I again, that's a massive soft spot for me, because I can remember playing when I couldn't play that at the arcade. I remember my friend having that on an Amiga. And playing that on an Amiga, and it felt just as good. Whether it was, I don't know. People might say no, it wasn't that these days, but to me, it felt
it's a good port.
Yeah.
I mean, the home ports were. I mean, apart from the poor old C64, which went down a different path. But even on the humble Spectrum, it was, they did amazing recreations.
Yeah, I had it on the Spectrum as well, and it felt good. So.
Useful tip for people, by the way, if you love those the arcade vector, the second Star Wars game, I think it's called Rebel Strike on the GameCube.
Yes.
What a lot of people don't know, that's actually got the first 3 Atari games. So that's the one you were talking about, the Star Wars vector. The Empire Strikes Back, which was like an add-on kit, which conversion kit. And then they've also got an arcade club of Return of the Jedi, which is where they went isometric. But all 3 of those are hidden on that game, and you can either beat the whole game and unlock them, or you can actually just put in a cheat and away you go. But it's just worth it alone for that, because not only is Rebel Strike pretty fantastic game anyway, done by Factor 5, but it's nice to know that you can access them legitimately. I mean, of course, these days you've got MAME and things like that does a very, very good job if that's the way you're going to go with things. But it's nice you can actually sort of own them.
Yeah, I think that's really nice that they're tucked away for you to get whichever way you want to.
Yeah, awesome. Well, as I say, is anything else you want to sort of like shout out or say? I mean, I think we've got all the key points there of the event, which sounds awesome.
No, I'll just say, firstly, thank you for your support, Paul, for doing this interview. Really, really appreciate it. And can't wait to see everyone there on the 16th of August. Do come and say hi. I'm the short bloke in the purple T-shirt that jumps around a lot on stage. So,
Fantastic.
Just come and say hello. I won't bite, I promise. So,
well, thank you very much, Max. That's awesome. I'm going to try and convince the wife to see if I can attend.
Fantastic.
Lovely. All right. Well, hope to see you at the event. So
Brilliant.
Awesome. Thank you. Right, okay, I hope you enjoyed that segment with Mags, and we'll wrap things up with some fantastic music. Keep it retro.
See ya.